Check 1, check 2.
All right, we'll call to order the Parks and Rec Commission meeting for Thursday, January 7th, 2016. Stand for Pledge of Allegiance. Commissioner Roddick, will you lead us?
I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
Thank you. Roll call.
Commissioner Gilbert,
Here.
Commissioner Roddick, Vice Chair Intner,
Here.
Chair Dutter,
Here.
Commissioner Firestone,
Here.
Commissioner Ford,
Here.
and Commissioner Wilson is absent this evening.
All right, number 3, public comments. I don't have any comment cards, and looks like we're low on attendance today. So we'll move along. Presentations as well. I do not have any. Police Department report.
They're busy.
A little busy, I'm sure.
In fact,
right?
I saw, who's our representative usually?
Sergeant Harwood.
Sergeant Harwood. I saw him up there because I was going up Gridley to go inside the gate there.
Yeah.
Oh, yes, they're searching
They've
for
got
the
a
missing
whole-
person.
Yeah, they're
Yes.
working hard up there.
Exactly. And
That's what the helicopter was doing.
Yeah.
Most likely, yeah.
Public Works update. Greg.
Did you guys get the text alert on that, Sheriff?
Microphone.
Yeah, we
Never
did.
had that before.
Yeah,
You know,
that was the
Sorry, it's a
first.
phone call. I got
it's a
my
VC
desk
alert.
phone.
If you're signed up for VC alerts and you give them your phone number, you get the phone call, or you can sign up and get just the text. I got both.
I
Yeah,
noticed all
kinda
the phones
nice.
ringing at the same time in our office. They'd all hit at the same, all the extensions in our office.
It's really helpful. That system is good.
Yes, so this is Public Works update, right? And, primarily the same thing. We were busy with the storm this week, and we did very well. So we did good prep, cleaning all the channels up and that kind of thing. So as far as the parks go, I don't think there was any particular damage or anything like that. I don't think we had any leaks in roofs and that kind of stuff. So I think we've kind of been focusing on other stuff, so there's been a lot of focus on the parks just lately. Yeah, that's the update.
Roads.
Good. Yeah, roads. Excellent. All right, approval of minutes for November, December. Has anybody had a chance to read them? Go through them?
I had a comment on the November minutes. A motion for the bike park.
Mm-hmm.
The text in here says, recommend funding from the city in amount not to exceed 17,000. Our motion was 1/3 of cost not to exceed, and I think it's important to include that
Right.
1/3 clause in there.
So it would read 1/3 cost not to exceed
17,000.
17,000.
Yeah.
Exactly.
We'll make that correction.
Thank you. Anything else from anybody else? Going through them? No? Do we have a motion?
I'll move to approve the November and December minutes.
I'll second. You want to call for a vote?
Vote.
All those in favor?
Aye.
Aye.
Motion passes.
Easy enough. Discussion items, moving on to the Sarasota Park shelter, picnic shelter. Greg?
Okay.
Yeah?
All right, I'll take it. And there was an administrative report to go along with this. And I should mention, we did deliver to all of the neighbors directly bordering the park a copy of this, a notification that we're discussing it tonight, just so they're aware of it. I mean, those picnic areas are already out there and they've been rented for years, but these shelters are a bit of a change. So I think when we've been out there, it seems like all these the immediately bordering property owners, I think every one of them came out and said hi every time we were out there laying it out. So we met everyone. I think there was maybe one, the bigger Craftsman home that looks over the park that I didn't run into that neighbor, but we made sure we delivered it to each one of them. So at least they're aware of this and they could have any input. I mean, I think primarily tonight we were trying to nail down this final location that we were discussing last time.
Mm-hmm.
And so that is relatively close to that home, but this isn't a big difference whether we orient it this way or that way. And how close it is and so on. But I think at this point we were able to work with the CDBG grant people and we're able to modify it to this kind of plan we have right here. So primarily that the sketch that or the attachment to the administrative report that looks kind of like this with the locations is what I wanted to focus on. So maybe starting from number 3, the easy one, that was over by the playground, and that shelter was moved away. It really was blocking the perimeter road anyways, the way it was originally shown. So we moved it over to avoid the trees and the light pole that's already over there, and that's that proposed location. And the firm that's doing the master plan, I can't think of their name right now, but they were fine. They said they can maneuver the trail and so on around it. That's just kind of a master plan trail. And so that was fine. And we were talking about that one a bit smaller. We're speccing that one at 25 by 25 right now is what we're going for. So, and then the one that's closer to the parking lot, another smaller shelter, we're calling it number 2. We're speccing that at 30 by 30, and that's what you see out in the field. And that's the same thing. We're able to squeeze that right in between the trees, and I don't know if everybody got to see the locations out there. So that's a kind of a nice, seems like a good location, easy access and all that. And then I guess number 1 is the one that's still being fiddled with a little bit, and we flipped it from the original location 90 degrees. So I guess the original location we were trying to match the master plan, and that was, there's a little issue going on with these tree locations and all that. They're not quite right on the plan. Mm-hmm. And we're doing a survey right now. It's not complete, but it'll be done in a couple days, and we'll have that as part of the actual site plan. But they're roughly right, but they're off, as much as 25, 30 feet. And this shows the concept pretty well, is that the original plan, you can see it's outlined without blue on it, was there, but the blue angled location we call option 1A is the one that misses. It stays out of the drip line of the tree, and it misses a couple other trees that are out there. In fact, I showed those as small oak trees. It's a green triangle there. And so we're missing those trees. So that's one option, was the angle. I think it was a good comment that was brought up that's impacts the whole open area significantly. So then we looked at the other option was to snug it up against the perimeter road, and that's that option 2A. So that one, it looks like it's going right up to the trunk of the tree, but it doesn't. And we might have to knock it down by 10 feet. And so option 1A would take it right snug against the perimeter road. So I kind of just threw out some rough ideas of, the pros and cons that I had on the list there. And it seemed like roughly the pro of moving it to the, and I'm sorry, I think we should call these both option 1A. I meant to call one 1B, so one of the two there is 1B. So, but one is, it's out in the open and it's more prominent, so if you want to kind of show off the shelter and look at it that way, but it does impact the open space. So depending on how you look at it, I guess you wouldn't try to hide art, but you might want to hide certain things, maybe the restroom, I don't know. But so this is kind of in between those two, I guess, somewhere. And so I thought some people may be sitting next to the perimeter road and close to those kind of garages and so over there. They might feel a little more confined, where they might be more likely to use it if it's more out in the open. So those are just very rough pros and cons of each location, but it certainly does save the open space if you move it over there snug. Mm-hmm. So I think that's, I was looking for input on the location. And secondly, I just passed around this, it's mostly about the roofing. And if you look at the sheet, this was an original concept when we first came up with these, this photograph that has 2 shelters installed there. And obviously the location changed a little bit because this was exactly over the existing picnic areas. But it gives you an idea of at a distance what this stuff would look like. So you'd have these dark columns, and they're actually metal. It's a recycled aluminum metal. And then the roof, if we wanted to go with, I guess that's the sheriff alert.
Different one.
What's
Amber alert.
Amber Alert? Sorry, everybody.
Is that the same person that was lost? No, it's
No,
different.
no.
That's surprising, 2 in one night. Huh?
Busy day.
Well, so we were going to go with a composite shingle to try to match the buildings out there, but it's a little trickier than we thought because these are generally kind of package kits that you buy for these buildings. So the tongue and groove is an option, and which we had decided to go with. It'll be a very nice looking underside of it, and you won't get that loud noise during rains and all that. It'll muffle that significantly. But so if we go with our standard metal, it makes it a lot easier.
So it says roof panel color option, so this is for the standards and for the roofing?
So that's for the roofing, for
Okay,
the metal
so
roofing.
that's just for the roofing, this isn't about the standard
Yeah,
of the, okay.
what is the colors of the standards?
For the columns, for the,
Better word.
they were similar. Yeah, I assumed that we were going to go with a dark
So it
brown or
would
black.
It would almost look something,
A lot like that, right. It would look very much like this, dark brown or black.
The only thing I would say about the roofing is that dark is hot, light reflects more.
Hmm.
So it's gonna be cooler. It doesn't really matter, there's full airflow. I mean, it's not like it's an enclosed space, but
And it's kind of insulated with the wood tongue and groove underneath. So I don't think it'll radiate much through. I think if it didn't have, it's true, you can have that radiate
it
through.
wouldn't matter otherwise, okay.
Mhm. So if you flip over, there was 2 options I was going to recommend, and that is the top one is just off their website, has this flat brown finish, or else the flat green, which I think is not maybe the matte, it's got a little shine to it. It's kind of going back to what we chose for colors out at Libby Park at the playground, right? As we dark brown and
Is
green.
the brown the bronze, is that what we're
must
talking
be the
about?
bronze.
Yeah, it looks like it.
Okay.
Oh, right. Yeah, I'm sorry. There isn't actually a brown shown as a color, is it? I thought that was brown, but it's bronze. Yeah. It's a fine print.
And is the bottom picture on the back underneath the brown, is that green or is that the slate?
Yeah.
The new slate gray?
It looks like the slate.
It looks like the slate, right?
On my print.
Mine too,
For
on
now.
this one.
That's right, because the roof options, they had as a color option for the columns a green,
But
but
you're thinking green for the columns, right?
I was thinking a black or a dark brown.
For the columns?
Yeah.
Okay.
Columns.
The black is pretty much what, I guess you could either say there's a very dark green or a black there. I was thinking really a black. They have a graffiti,
Powder coated or anything?
Yeah.
they're powder coated and they have a graffiti finish on them. Uh-huh.
Nice.
For the columns, not for the roof. Hopefully nobody graffitied the roof, you never know.
We may never know.
So yeah, the color in the bottom, I was kind of thinking that the bronze, which is sort of a dark brown, or the dark green, is kind of the colors we came up with Libby, and it's subtle. It kind of just, we're not trying to highlight these buildings out there. So from the side, I think that's what that was my intention in the first picture, just to remind you from the side what you'll see a fair amount of the roof area.
What is is it just a standard stain for underneath on the TNG?
Right, TNG we're looking at kind of doing a slight darkness to it, but not too dark, because we want to keep it reflective, so you have a good lighting in there. And we're going to put a graffiti varnish on it as well.
Okay.
So I think that was my request, just for input on those 2, and if there's any questions, I'll be glad to answer.
So, comments about the colors first? Questions, comments?
Will they be, in item or drawing number 1, that roof will be seen then? It's not like it's hidden too high, it's real high, and but it's gonna be seen, so.
But in the new variation, there won't be, it'll be tucked back farther and off to the sides.
Okay.
So it won't be as large as that, in that picture.
Right. Yes, that's important. Okay, you're saying that first picture.
Yeah.
That one is over the existing picnic area 1. Don't you call that 1, right? 1 is the one that's used a little less. Yeah, so it would be significantly, where number 2 is even more up front. It really is tucked over there in the back, yeah, significantly back.
So you'll see the 30 by 30 will probably be the most obvious.
Yeah, the 30 by 30 would be,
Front and center.
right, just out to the left of this oak tree,
Off to the left.
or directly behind the oak tree almost, yeah.
I think the bronze is fine.
I agree.
Yeah.
Bronze.
I'm good with bronze.
I think the bronze
Yeah,
is nice.
The bronze, I like
Bronze
the
and the black
bronze.
as well.
Yeah, I like the bronze.
For
I think that
instance-
dark green, everything in
It's a
that
little-
park's green.
I know.
Yeah.
Yeah. So,
Exactly.
The buildings, it's okay to have a building that's brown?
yeah, yeah.
Okay.
But I like that bronze. I don't know what you guys, but
Yeah.
Yeah, I like it.
Yeah, the
I
bronze.
really
And as
do.
far as the columns, brown, brown or black, I think,
Yeah, I think this rendering over the existing.
I like that color, which is
yeah, I
almost
think it
greenish.
looks really good.
Yes.
This one here,
Doesn't that almost
That-
read as a,
that
like
almost looks like green
a
now.
green, a really dark green? Yeah.
Yeah,
I do like that with the wood. I think that, I don't think I'd
That's what
like
she's
black
talking
as much
about. I think this
myself. I
looks
think I'd prefer like a brown, but for the columns.
It
Against
is,
the
it is
wood.
true, yeah, the metal does extend up,
Into the wood.
In the
And I
wood
think
up there.
Next, the wood red up against a brown or this, like a really dark green would be nicer than against black, but.
yeah, it's hard to find that
That's
color,
a-
if it's dark green or if it's a weird black, yeah, I don't know.
So brown better than
do,
black in my
do they
opinion.
have a color scheme for that, Greg?
For the framing color, yeah, they did, it was similar.
Okay,
But whatever you, I guess if you're gonna do the roof in brown too. Yeah.
I mean, in this picture we have showing the tongue and groove wood, it looks like they have brown trim around it.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And then they've got the
I think-
dark green or black columns, whatever that is.
I think that looks good, and I think the tongue and groove underneath looks great.
oh yeah, I like that, instead of just the metal roof
Definitely.
exposed, yeah, that looks really good.
Yeah.
In the photograph that we mocked up of the park, it almost seems like a dark brown that's on the columns, so that gives you a feel for
Yeah,
that.
And I
whatever
would
this
be
is
apt
on
to
the
go
bottom
with
one
that.
looks good too, though, yeah.
Yeah,
I
whatever
think
this-
the bottom one looks really nice.
This might be a gray, this bottom one might be a darker gray.
As we look at
But
the,
whatever this one is up here looks pretty good too, and it look probably the
Brown.
same color.
Yeah, I like the one over the existing
Yeah,
pads that you guys put, this rendering. I think that looks spot on.
okay, so then it would be brown with a bronze roof?
Yeah,
Because the roof would be different, because the roof
as
would,
closest to those
I
two.
think that would
the
look
roof
good.
would look like that.
what do you guys think? I think that would look pretty good
Yeah.
myself.
Looks earthy.
Right. I was almost going to try to pull it up on the phone here, but yeah, I think the options were basically the same. They seem to have these same colors. They did have, yeah, a matte, and I'm sorry, they had a matte finish on the roof, and I thought that'd be desirable, right?
Yeah,
Try to not have it,
definitely.
the glossy
No
reflective.
shine.
And then,
Yeah, we don't want to,
We don't need a shiny roof.
not when it rains.
Need to
and
wax it.
everybody- All we need is a complaint.
Okay, so
Okay,
bronze
so we're
with
good with
a
that in the
bron-
colors, I got it.
With the brown
Brown,
and bronze.
okay,
So just brown,
Somewhere in there.
that's
yeah.
what we're saying.
Somewhere in there, yeah.
which pretty much goes with what the
Bronze
first
and
mock-up
bronze.
was, I guess,
Exactly.
yeah.
In terms of location, thoughts? Anybody?
So I like the option 2A, but if there was some space between the access road and the shelter, I don't think it should butt right up against the access road.
We put it as close as we could with the overhang, making sure we weren't going to clip it with any, trucks
So
that go
what,
through.
what you're saying is maybe not make it as close as you can, give it 5 feet,
Yeah.
6 feet.
Right. So if you're sitting in there, you're not just staring
So you
at
like
the
the
access
alignment of
road.
2A, but maybe pull it off the road a little bit so that it's
Exactly,
coming up.
parallel to the border of the park, but kind of give it some space between the access road and where the shelter starts.
I think the access road has maybe old telephone poles that line the edge of it.
Yeah, right now. Mhm.
And so maybe go from the drip line, that's what these dimensions are, drip line of the roof. Maybe go another 5 foot or so inside, 5'7", something like that, yeah.
Yeah, no, I
Okay.
think, because I
I
think,
think that
'cause
would
you're
be
saying
better.
because of the drip line already, that's more, so, okay.
Right.
What's the drip line from the roof? How far is that?
Well, I mean, I guess I meant by the drip line, the roof limit, whereas the
okay.
columns, you sort of look at the columns here and you see they're inset
Overhang.
about 3 feet or so.
Okay, all right.
So you're already going to be.
And we're going to run the concrete pad.
So it'll be 3 feet,
Gonna run the
and then
compact
you do 5, you
pad
got 8
past
feet.
the building,
I
Yeah.
don't think you need any more than that, do you?
So what do you-
Okay.
what are you gonna
I
go,
just don't want to
maybe-
go 7 if we don't need to.
7, 8 feet past, or,
I was thinking of the concrete pad extending past the drip line a good 3 feet or so.
that'd be good.
Except on the On the park side, we're going to really widen it up. We were going to have, the path is supposed to be part of the path going up past it. So it would be extended on that side in the range of, I was waiting to hear back from the master planner to see what they were kind of conceiving here. It looked like they're doing roughly a 10-foot path, I think there. It's hard to say.
On the park side?
Yeah, because that where their path sketched in, you can see our existing path coming up to the circular area, and then it goes over the restroom. That's something like, that's a little wider. I think that's probably about a 6-foot path. And then you can see the one they conceptualized is quite a bit wider. So I think they're planning about a 10-foot wide.
That'd be good.
So we'll confirm that. I guess another point I didn't mention was that the barbecues, the existing big barbecues, we're planning to pull the one that will be left out in the middle of nowhere.
Right.
Okay, so that'll go. And then the other one that's kind of close to the restroom, we were planning to leave that for the short term and see if it still gets used, and then add some kind of group barbecues that are more of the stand type you see at, when you rent individual campgrounds, you tend to have these small ones that are like this, that are adjustable. We're thinking, we didn't nail this down, but I think they make these larger ones that
They
you can
still have those at Daly Park.
Oh, that's right, that's right. Okay.
The really old style ones.
Have they ever used them? I don't know.
Not that I've seen lately. I think that sounds good. I think that makes sense. I definitely like 2A. And I don't think we should set it, because now that I'm understanding that the drip line, that's about, you're going to have 3 feet at least already with that from the railroad ties, or whatever those big
Right,
Telephone
telephone
and we don't want them
poles.
too tight, so we'll go outside of those a few feet, and then
So
3
I
foot.
would say no more than, I don't think you need more than 5 in addition to that, because that's already 8 feet, and I think that seems like plenty.
Right.
I think really what would the discussion for us is probably how far do you want to be from the railroad ties, or the telephone poles?
Yeah.
And 8 feet seems fine.
Yeah.
Okay, yeah, if we do 8, that leaves plenty of room.
Even 6 feet would be fine. I mean, it doesn't need to be,
Right. So 5 feet from those poles to the concrete pad.
yeah.
Because with that set up, the option 2A should have been labeled, the one that we're talking about, it's right tight to the perimeter road. The south, I think this is oriented weird, isn't it? Is this, yeah.
North is left.
So I think, I don't think we have north on here, but the north is kind of, we're looking at it to the, facing up to the east, right?
Yep.
Yeah.
So,
Running east-west.
yeah, the west edge of it would actually be on the existing asphalt edge, which is what we showed out in the field if you stop by.
Okay.
And so that was still off the trunk of the tree, roughly 20 foot or so, like
Okay.
that. So we're going to infringe, we're going to get closer to that trunk, but it's already impacted. So I think we'll be basically removing that asphalt and replacing it.
Okay.
So we're trying to protect that tree. On the good side, you can see the existing asphalt covers up the entire half of the drip line, and now we're going to free up about a quarter plus of that. I mean, about half of that asphalt area, 3/4 of the whole drip line of the tree.
And so, but we are proposing it be 30 by 50 instead of 30 by 60.
And I was going to do a final check with arborist how far we think we can push it. So it'll be 50 minimum, 60 foot if we can still pull it off.
I think 30 by 50 is big. It's still big.
Mhm.
Yeah.
I don't think that's too small.
Yeah, I wouldn't be heartbroken if we went.
No.
If we,
I think
Settled at
scale-wise,
50.
I think 30 by 50 is a good scale anyway.
Yeah, I mean, those out at Soul Park are just,
They're
I don't know
huge.
what those are, but those are just beyond what
You know-
most people, they're massive.
Yeah.
yeah, they are.
Neat monstrosities.
You know, though, would it be worth our while to extend, oh, you can't with that tree, somewhere come out with the concrete, even if it's the 30 by 50 is the actual structure, but 30 by 60 is the actual concrete? So if we want to build a barbecue on
at the
that
end of it.
at the end of it, then we would have that foundation already there to build on.
That's a
So-
big question.
Now, what we were proposing to do in this was to bring on the park side, which is the south side of that shelter, so on this side, have that pad not just the 10-foot wide for the path, but to extend a little bit more, and then put the group barbecue, one of these ones installed on a post, kind of in the middle of that area. So give it a few more feet. If he recommends 10, then we might say, why don't we go 13 or so?
Yeah, just enough so we have a pad beyond that if we wanted to build on it. you know, if we wanted to put something on it eventually.
Well, it's not a bad idea just to have some extra concrete space if people want it for, if whoever's renting that for
Doing
games
their,
or whatever, yeah.
or doing their setup for dinner. you
Yeah,
know?
exactly.
That mean-
Tables and, yeah.
Tables, or not even tables, but, well, yeah, tables, but for catering stuff
Yeah.
and everything. I think
So-
if we make it more,
You're saying further out.
You're talking about the east side,
toward the-
correct?
On the
Yeah.
south side,
That
yeah.
way?
East side.
Yeah.
Towards the east, yeah.
yeah, towards.
The right side, yeah.
Towards the path, yeah.
Well, so I guess with that, what we were saying is 30, toward the top of our paper, right?
Yeah.
If
Yeah,
we're looking at-
yes.
Since we're having a hard time orienting ourselves, toward the top of the
Yeah,
paper.
yes,
Um,
to the top of our.
Oh, the top side I'd recommend against because that's a really old big oak tree up there.
Well, I guess the point was, what I think what we were talking about is if you made it 30 by 50,
Mm-hmm.
and then you
Oh.
would extend the concrete to the degree you could, that 10 feet, if
Because
you
this is,
could play with it
this is
instead of.
probably a 30 by 60 drawing here. Is this-
Right.
So if you went that, but you came back and you did the 30 by 50, but the concrete went 30 by 60.
Or
Okay,
as far as you could go,
Or, yeah.
that is reasonably not going to damage the tree.
Damage the drip line.
okay, so the maximum we can utilize and give a 10-foot concrete and a 50-foot maybe minimum shelter, is that
Yeah.
kind of our goal?
Yeah.
So if it happened to be, I
Or-
guess,
Or we just agree that that's what we want, 30 by
Yeah,
50.
30 by 50,
But we're not
maybe
trying to
50
push
foot
beyond it.
maximum is what,
Yeah.
35 by 50 for the roofed area.
yes.
So, yes.
Okay,
But then push out the concrete farther to have
To have 10,
space.
10 foot, because I know we can get somebody to start building us some barbecue. Once we get this, we'll get donations for somebody to build a barbecue, new barbecues. for
oh, more like what we have, you mean a custom, I see.
Custom.
So are you inclined to go ahead and do kind of these pre-manufactured ones you see?
No.
There'd be a group size one, you know, it's just a bit bigger, we're kind of thinking double, triple size.
Well, you could go either way with that, couldn't you?
What's
I mean,
that?
if you had the pad,
Yes.
you could have someone build it, or you could put one of those group, it's not something we need to decide now, but if you had the pad, you'd have the
You're talking a
options.
group one, you're talking. how
I was
big?
actually not talking too big, you know how most campgrounds have about, must be 2
Yeah,
by,
see,
they're not even 3 foot, and I was gonna
would-
go maybe
That's not big
double.
enough.
That's
30
not
by
big
50.
enough for which, so you're gonna have a 3 by 8.
But Greg was talking about adding one in that's like double that.
Double.
is it?
Yeah.
Double, and they might, you know, what we haven't actually nailed down the sizes they have available.
Yeah,
But
I think
it-
they're 4 by 8 or something like that.
Are you,
Standard,
are you
yeah.
planning to do that as part of this project, or in the future?
I was thinking just knock it out and get it done now. Mhm.
Oh, you were?
Yeah, I bet they cost less than $1,000. I'm gonna take that bet
I
back,
guess
but
what would be
roughly
interesting is to see what
$1,000.
they are.
Yeah, I would
I'd
like
be
to see.
curious to see what it is.
Yeah,
Mhm.
But,
as a
But I
barbecue.
agree, if we put it in, we might want to do it at the same time, so we're not
Yeah.
without a barbecue at all.
Well,
Because
and
if
so-
somebody wants to come in and donate it or build one, that'd be great, but what if that doesn't happen for a year or two, and if you have such a
well,
big
but we're keeping the
structure-
one by the restroom.
Right, but
In the
who
interim.
knows if somebody's gonna use it?
So that's
Soft-
actually a smaller,
Sophocles' point
the
is
one
that
by
it's
the
too
bathroom
big-
is
too
actually
beefy.
smaller than the one that's over in the big area.
Yeah,
Mhm.
yeah.
It
It's
is-
still big.
It is
Yeah.
smaller,
Both
still
are
a
big.
good size.
The
I
one
would-
is huge.
I would personally say, like, if you're talking size-wise, half the size of the one that's in area 2. You know,
Yeah.
I don't know the exact dimensions of the one that's in area 2.
Because if you're,
But you could
Relative
have
to that one.
one
How much
large.
Do they get used now, Sophocles?
Quite a bit.
Quite a
In
bit.
do,
area
yeah.
2, that, I mean, sometimes we have to put in public
They're-
work,
they're in-
we have to put in work orders to get rid of the ash because it
Yeah. Piles.
Yeah.
fills to the top.
That's why I
mean,
don't
it's
think you can go
amazing.
without,
No, you need a
one, at
decent
least.
size.
Yeah.
I mean, if you're gonna have a 30 by 50
so you
shelter,
figure how many, what's the capacity of the building? So if you got 100 people and you're gonna try and serve 100 people, you need something that's big. Even if it's one that's split up to where it's divided, you can use half of it, or you can
Right.
use the whole thing, you know?
sure. I mean, you could make an argument to have a similar size to what exists. That same size. It's pretty big.
The two, the one and
but-
two, or the one
And
and
the
one.
one in area
The really
2,
big one.
The one in area
Okay.
2, you could make an argument to have that same size built where the new shelters.
When
going
you're
to
talking about the barbecues too, I'm confused, or I misheard, but so were you proposing to put them by the 25 by 25 and the 30 by 30 as well?
Yes.
Okay, yeah, the single little ones,
Yeah.
by those.
Maybe a
'cause
little
that's-
bigger than single, but
Okay.
yeah, pretty small. You know, and as I'm thinking as you say that, yeah, smaller ones by the 2 smaller shelters, and maybe
Uh-huh.
we do go ahead and do kind of a medium size, something ballpark of this table,
About
roughly this
exactly
size.
like your table.
And we could put it a bit, put it to the center, and then if we leave the other one, maybe we go ahead and leave it and see how much it gets used. And if people really, for big parties, we kind of leave it out there, and that becomes.
I'll
I
be
guess-
honest with you, when we go out there for barbecues and stuff, we send somebody out really early in the morning because there's a fight sometimes in the
To get the
summer
barbecue.
to get the barbecue.
Yeah,
So,
to get one of these, so if you leave the big one out there, that's for the big events, you might kind of reserve a couple shelters and try to stake out the whole area for a big party.
yeah, yeah.
And use that, and then and that one's probably big enough, right? The one next to the restroom?
The one for that
It's a
area over there?
decent-sized one, yeah.
Yeah, that's a decent size.
Yeah, that's something like 4 by.
Yeah, I think it's 4 by 8.
Yeah, right, it's pretty big.
Would multiple barbecues, rather than just like thinking about one big one, but maybe a couple of medium-sized ones to kind of deal with a lot of people?
We talked briefly about that, because, about doing 2 separate, and I think the feeling, at least the input, I guess, I was hearing from Parks and Rec, was that you guys thought, most people tend to either reserve the whole facility and cook together.
Are you saying split the 30 by 50? Is that what you were just
Or he's saying
suggesting,
two
or-
No,
barbecues.
not
Oh,
just the barbecue, yeah.
Separate barbecues.
So that
in a large area.
you could use them both if you had a big party, but if you didn't, you could use one and someone else could use the other.
Yeah.
Give a little more
But,
flexibility.
yeah, but most.
It's kind of hard,
Yeah.
if you're cooking, like, for instance, if I do events and stuff, I want everybody right there. I can't have 2 barbecues going and a crew over on one side and a crew
Yeah,
over.
no, I'm saying side by side, very close to one another.
Yeah,
but-
that's what we were saying earlier, is we could split them to where
Yeah.
it's a big one.
You don't have
But
to
you
use the
could,
whole
you can use
Right,
one.
exactly.
One hand ring to get a 4 by 8 grill or a 4 by 6 grill. 2 4 by 6s, you can have separate adjustments and stuff.
Okay,
so.
and someone else could use the one
They
side
could use
of
the
it if
one
you
at
weren't
the
using
side.
one side.
Usually though, with that big of a rental and everything, they're gonna use the whole thing.
Yeah.
So,
But on the days that it's not that big a
Right.
rental is what you're talking about.
Exactly.
Yeah. When people might just drop in.
Or
but
it's not
there's-
rented.
Right.
but if you, and
Just-
if you have those smaller ones, Greg, on the 30 by 30, is that what you guys?
That one is 30 by 30, and that's 30 by 30 and 25 by 25.
25 by 25. If you had those smaller ones like at Daily
Yeah, but
or
those
something.
little ones, yeah.
Yeah, that'd be perfect for that.
Or you were saying maybe bigger, so maybe the 25 by 25 has a little
Just
one, and the
a
30
hair
by
than the
30 has the
campground ones.
medium one, and
Medium
then you
one.
have the big
Yeah.
one for the big one. I'm still confused, you're talking about putting it in the middle, though. I'm not clear where
Well,
you're wanting to put it.
Not under the roof line, I didn't mean the middle like that, but I was thinking on the right side of the page towards the park, about the middle. We should keep in mind, though, on the bottom side, which is kind of the west side,
Uh-huh.
there's we put that sink area in there.
Yeah, I was gonna ask you about that. So the sink's gonna stay.
Right.
The sink's all staying.
And it'd be
That
extremely close to the edge
barbecue
of
is
this new
staying.
position we have here, yeah.
Which makes sense, because if you're gonna do it, it's nice to have it near the water and the barbecue
You-
all in
you
one
bet
spot.
it is.
I'm not clear why we wanna put it in the middle, but that's just me.
Right, I guess by the middle, what I meant was, on the park side, on the right side, that'd be about roughly middle. So you could shift it
That's
But
further
the
south.
end might be, wouldn't it make more sense to put it on an end versus
For
on the middle?
The east end.
So you have one on the east, one on the west, because we're gonna have one on the west that's existing, as long as we keep that's right by the sinks. And then if we were to install something,
Well, if you
The-
put it on what we're calling the
pad.
the pad in the middle,
oh,
if you put it in the middle, like you're talking about, Greg, would it then be in the path?
of getting to the park.
Right, that's where the path I thought should be a bit wider,
Wider.
or it could even bump around it. But if we go in the
Actually, it's
the
the
east side, the top side of the
It's
page,
the top of the page.
it's kind of underneath the very large oak there. I'm
Okay, so
not
that's not
sure-
safe.
Yeah,
I
All
don't know
right,
if that's a
so
good
that's
impact,
fine. Got it.
just,
Okay.
I don't know how
If
much
we come
breeze
out
gets
on
in
this,
there.
what are we
Yeah.
talking, the south then?
The,
And the south, I think, would be avoiding that, but I'm trying to remember exactly how close that the sink area is. It's getting darn close to the
the only
sink.
reason I'm looking at that is if you're there and you're using the area that's the big field, having the barbecue in the middle, it'd be nicer to have full access in and out. But if it's a safety issue to put it in the other place, that's fine, it's great. But if you could keep that whole side open, like if you look at the ones at Sewell, they typically put things at the ends of things so that your sides are open, so that there's nothing impeding your entry and access from underneath where the shade is. And that's just
Especially
my
the
thought.
bigger one too, you want to be able to access it with a vehicle to get your stuff so you can get close enough to
To one
unload
end or
it.
the other.
You could even do it on this side by the road if you wanted
Oh, on
to,
the back side.
backside of it.
I
But
think they
that's under
generally
trees
limit
too, right?
vehicles, right? You don't
Yeah,
allow.
we
But it is true that in this particular case, now it'd be right next to that maintenance road. You could have
I mean-
a secondary gate or something like
Yeah,
that. that-
you know, with permission, I suppose.
You could-
we do it
because
on the
you could-
access road, but
Yeah.
we don't, of course, allow people to ride into the actual
Yeah.
park, but on the access road.
Access road, that's what I,
Potentially,
yeah.
if that's what you're saying, yeah.
Yeah,
So-
because then you can back up and unload everything, and if it's in the center of that
It's weird.
unit, then it's on that side, everything's away from it, and you got full view going the opposite direction.
Yeah, and I think if you put it in the middle, even if you extend the concrete pad there, if you have a concrete path going around and you have somebody who's cooking for 100 people and you have kids riding by on their scooters, that just kind of screams
Okay,
safety
so what about the
hazard.
north, what about the north side?
Yeah, closest to the access road.
The north
That's-
side's
that's
gonna be
what I
pretty
meant,
tight,
yeah.
though. I mean, you want to get away from the drip
Yeah, your
line enough
pad's
that we're
not
not
as-
drifting
Your
smoke
pad's
in
not
there.
coming out as far.
Well, but
Yeah,
then
you-
should we, will we,
And you're awfully close to the houses.
I don't know.
How
Yeah.
much
With
space
the barbecue.
would you need from the
Yeah, what do
the
you need?
shelter?
Yeah.
Yeah, under the, what are we saying? Was that east side or, no, yeah, north side, right, next to the trail.
It's so hard. Yes,
North
because
side's the trail, yeah.
the north side is the road.
Yes.
Yeah, the access road. So how could you do it? Well, because you were gonna have extra concrete on the front side, right? Could we put more extra concrete on the back side and put the barbecue back there?
Well, weren't you saying that if we kept with the 60-foot concrete pad and went with the 50-foot structure, couldn't you then put that barbecue structure
On the east
immediately
side.
east?
East.
of
That was under the tree, though, they said.
Under the tree.
Well, no, I think if we pushed any farther past the 60 feet, we're running into the tree.
That's
Because
right.
we're picking up that, we would be
It's
theoretically picking
designed
up
right
that
now for the
space if
30
we
for
went
60.
with
Yeah,
the
we're,
50
we're,
foot.
we're already,
Well, no, that was
we're
what
already
I-
pushing under the canopy somewhat, you know, so we're under the canopy with this limit.
So-
Okay,
Yeah.
okay.
I know, because that's where it would make sense to put it. But if you couldn't put it there, I'm just wondering if you could put it on the north side.
So that- that makes
Next to the
sense, yeah.
access road.
That's what I
Which would
think.
mean that you might bump forward, and I don't know how
Yeah.
far, because I don't know what you need to leave for room for these things, and not one of my strengths, but
When you're at these barbecues, isn't that sometimes the big focal point? Everybody's hanging around the barbecue? Not really? No, everybody's kind of,
No, if they're using it for that big and it's a party, they don't want you around it.
well, and you.
Okay.
Unless you're a family,
Yeah.
then everybody's gonna hang out out
Right,
there,
right,
watch
that's what
it
I was
and
thinking
cook,
more. Yeah,
you know.
exactly.
I
Yeah,
think
there's
that
the-
you should have it open to the playground and the park, and the kids are moving in. I think there should be access in
this
and
way?
out.
Coming
I think the
this way?
south side should be open.
Yes, oh,
Yeah,
definitely.
And not blocked.
I agree.
So it sounds like
So it's either the west or the north.
And there is some.
And the west already has one.
West has, the old one.
Can I throw another idea out there, which might not make any sense, or it might run into the canopy, but what if we tried to kind of take it kind of, off that point? So that would be the
Southeast corner.
southeast corner,
Yeah. That's
and kind of took
Okay.
it off at, that
That's what I was
45-degree angle there, if that's making any sense at all.
Because I agree, it
45.
should be on
Which
the
is-
opposite side of the west end, because you already have one on the west. So,
What
On
I'm,
the east,
what
yeah.
I'm thinking is you wouldn't be impacting the access road, you wouldn't be getting too
Wouldn't be
close
under
to
the
the
canopy.
homes, you wouldn't be under the canopy, you'd still have,
So you're
if
talking
you're
about
looking at the
on that-
canopy, you'd still,
the way
it'd
it's
be
shaped
open
out and just coming out
going
here.
in,
Right about-
and it'd be off to the side just a little bit, but still right there.
I think so, because
That'd be
I think,
fine.
I think then if you're cooking too, you can see
You can see what's
everything.
going on.
see
You're
what's going
not
on.
relegated to the back by the
Yeah.
access
You're
road.
not banished to the kitchen. Yeah.
Yeah, totally. You could do that.
Okay, well, that would work. Are you under the canopy, though?
You don't need to
No.
be on.
I think if you give me the direction, I'll just make sure that we make
Yeah.
room for it. And exactly how
Shoot it
far do
over.
you have to be?
Okay.
I think as long as we stay
I think it's 8.
5 feet-ish, 8
Yeah.
feet,
So
something like that.
30 by
yeah.
50
Mhm.
on the structure, another 10 feet, or as far as we can get with the concrete,
Mhm.
with the southeast
Yes.
corner of that being the barbecue.
Yep.
Right out towards the meadow, where it says
Yes.
meadow
Yes.
there, right? Okay, that
Yes.
direction.
That, yeah?
I like it.
Okay.
Yeah.
So we go that direction, we might even, yeah.
I'll just want to cause trouble here and just say, I do like the idea of it being near the sink. I mean, it seems to make sense.
Well, we're not getting rid of the other barbecue.
No, at least not for now.
Right.
But I'm just saying, if we did.
Don't we have a water already out
even
here?
even that barbecue isn't super close to the sink.
it isn't,
They-
you're right.
They are,
But-
they're quite a ways apart, actually.
Yeah.
They're not conveniently located, the sink to the barbecue.
Hey, Greg, isn't there a water line out this way anyway, by the meadow? There's one out there in the back.
For irrigation, or you think
Yeah,
there's
potable
stuff for?
versus-
It was for a drinking fountain at
There
one
is a
time.
gap.
Oh, there it is right out there.
Yes.
You're
Yeah.
right.
There's a drink
So
fountain.
we could always set something up and.
We'll make sure we stub dead ends of,
Stub
for
it,
water
dead
and
ends
the
and
conduits and so
I
on.
would also stub for electrical in
Yeah.
case we
Yep.
wanted to put a light over it or
Right.
something like that, so.
We'll
But-
put several, once we dig a trench, we'll put several extra cabinets,
Yeah.
yeah.
It's just when you're doing food prep, it's
It's very nice to have water,
nice
yes.
to have a sink nearby.
Yeah,
but-
I know, I'm wondering if there's a way, I'm sorry I don't have the detail on that on this, I'm sorry, on the west side, the side right next to the sink, because it might be there's room to make it work there. So if we do this shelter that way with the extra room on one end, do we want to make the extra room on that end and put the barbecue down there? Or are you saying, no, you'd rather have it further away? You
Well,
think
isn't
it's
the way
better?
it's cited right now, it's pretty darn close to the restroom and already on the asphalt?
Yeah.
It
Yeah.
really isn't 10 more feet, is there?
But if
Yeah.
we're saying we're going to make the pad as
shift
long
it
as we
up?
can, 50 or 60 foot, and we're going to shift the building
already-
on it,
You already have a barbecue on the west end. And if you put in another one down there, that one's
No,
definitely
it'll
not
be-
going to use then.
Right, it's gonna be fairly crowded. They're not, I mean.
Well, not only that, but if somebody only wanted
Well,
half
it
of the
was-
building, you can give them that half with that barbecue.
It actually gives you some.
If it was a little better.
You guys don't split the building, correct?
What?
You guys don't split the
Not
reservation.
historically.
Right,
No, we
We
talked about.
talked
that.
about that, just didn't think it would be very feasible.
right.
People, I don't think would be in favor of.
That'd be tough to
Side by
do.
side.
Seen that before.
Yeah.
They do it other places.
You only have like 10, 20 people and they want to be under the bigger shelter. I mean, I've seen it before. I've done it before.
Part of our concern
Shared.
I'm sorry, Commissioner.
No, go ahead.
We thought we might have a lot of situations where you would have one party renting it, and then the other party might not want to take it, and then you end up with the one person really getting both. I mean, we could do it, I mean, like you said.
No, I agree, but that's
It
why we got the
would
30
give an
by 30s.
option, a potential,
That's why we
another
got
option.
this one and the 30 by 25. They can take the smaller ones and do it from
I
there.
think I'd have to say with that concern, that wouldn't bother me that much. If someone wants to gamble only getting a small portion by paying less and then having to give it up if they don't get it, fine. That's they're gambling on that, and we're still
Then
getting
again,
a
we're
rental
losing
fee.
revenue though if we have that and somebody comes in. So I could see where the big one is say it's
Yeah.
$100 and the other ones are $50.
I-
And and if you try to do a $50 and this one's $50, they're gonna say, well, how come we get the little one and they got the big one?
Yeah, no, I hear you. Okay.
All right,
But again, back to this, I still think we're in the same place. I don't think we've changed our direction on this,
Yeah,
right?
You southeast or however.
I think with the existing-
you said, I
It's-
mean, it's fine. I don't, maybe the sink isn't that big of a,
Well, I think we plan for the sink if we can with stub outs, that we'll make that a possibility
Something small.
if and when.
I can make
yeah.
But,
exactly. And
as far as where it goes, it sounds like no one wants it on the south side,
No, yeah,
right? But there seems like there's some other options here.
South side? Yeah, no.
that would be.
No,
The
no.
middle of the south. Yeah.
Yeah, right. If
Okay,
it was off
so-
to the
That
corner,
would pin you to where your view is gonna be this way. If it was
Yeah.
over
Which
here,
is-
your pin is gonna go this way.
Yeah.
So you at least,
I agree, you could always put it in a smaller sink right there. I guess it's not a big deal.
Okay. So
All right.
30 by 50,
exactly.
oriented, option 2A, with the barbecue area in the southeast corner in the additional 10 feet of concrete that we're pouring at that end.
exactly.
Kind of at an angle, off to one side. So yeah,
10 feet or whatever we can get.
whatever we can get.
Exactly.
So put it
Okay.
in that 10-foot area and put it, so it really ends up being on
Southeast
the
corner.
east side.
East side.
It's on the east side of it, but on the very south
Yep.
portion of that.
Portion, yeah.
Right. Okay, and I have another question, and that is that if that distance that we can get was only, say, 55 feet or 50 feet, do we want to leave 10 foot open and shrink the shelter down and take it down to 40 or 45 feet?
What do you think, Sophocles?
What, say that again.
Again, we need numbers of how many that accommodates. It's really hard for me to talk in 10-foot incremany if I don't know how many people you get underneath it and how many
Well,
tables.
you know,
You're saying
picnic
drop
tables
it
are
another-
typically 8 foot.
8-foot
The ones
tables,
we're
yes.
getting are 8 foot, and they hold, because we just went through this, because you have to have ADA seating too. So it's 2 foot typical per person, so it's 8 people, 8 persons, adults, whatever, per picnic table.
Is it
So
two
that's
rows
8
or
foot.
one row?
Except for.
So we'll
the
get 2
handicap
rows
side.
easily
Two
in here.
rows.
Yeah, so 2 rows, we'll have,
For me, on.
I know, it's
So
quick
you're
math.
Help me.
You're cutting 16 people out of it.
Okay.
For every 10 feet, you take
For
out
every 10
16
feet, you
people.
take out
Yeah.
16 people. Okay, and how many did we have when we had it at 30 by 50?
Well,
that's
30.
80 people.
So even if at 6 tables long, we're gonna be 48 feet, if they were end to end.
Okay,
And I assume we want to keep them tight like that in the layout, right? So anyways, roughly 48 long,
Okay, you got
and then it's going to be the, so that's like 24, so 48 for the set of tables, say 50 for easier math, and then another 50. So really, we're up in the 50, up to the 100 range
Okay.
That's
for a
good.
50-foot-long shelter. If
50 is 100, so and then when we bump down, we're getting to like 80. Or,
Yeah, and
Oh, yeah.
you're
that
gonna,
was a 50-foot
around.
shelter without, that's really taking the tables right to the ends. We'd probably bring them in.
But you-
So
you
it's a
also-
little high.
Don't you want a little space in between each table?
I don't know, yeah. I've seen them
You want
tight.
like a
Is that-
long-
At Seoul, I think they do them
Well,
tight. right?
they're tight together, and then if there's, I think, 6,
They have
there's a row in the, at
a
3.
pass-through.
There's a
Space,
pass-through,
yeah,
but
in
like
the middle of
halfway.
it, right,
So you don't have to
yeah.
go all the way around, but irregardless, you're basically losing 16 people for every 10 feet.
Okay, thank you. That helps.
Yes.
So really, we're going to have something more like 2 tables and 2 tables with a gap. We might get 2 and 3 at that 50-foot range. So it's something like 5, and then we said 8. So it's a little more like 40. So still, that's end to end of the shelter. We probably want to bring it in the end of the shelter. So we're probably in the.
So at 50, with a space to walk through, we'd have about 80 people.
Yeah.
Okay.
I think I estimated that high. I think because we're with ends coming in on both ends, you probably knock it down to about more like 4 tables per row at that 50-foot length, with a gap in the middle and off the ends. So we're probably at about 32 per row. So it's about 60 for the whole shelter at 50 foot, comfortably.
Okay. I wouldn't bump it down then. I think you need to
If we're
stay,
talking
I would not
60,
go below
65
50.
people, yeah,
Yeah.
I would leave it, I would agree.
I just leave it as it is.
I don't think you should go any smaller
You're
than
talking about
50.
the cover.
Yeah.
Yeah, the covered area.
So we would lose the pad, if I'm catching this right, we'd lose the pad for the barbecue.
I think that's a
If
discussion we
If
just
that's a
started
higher
to have.
priority, to have the 50 feet, then we're gonna lose the
I
extra
think
pad for the
50,
barbecue.
30 by 50 would give us about 80 people. It sounds like it's.
Depending on
uh,
the spacing. At the
five-
lowest, 60. but-
5 tables is 40 feet,
Mhm.
so then there's 10 feet of space
That you could
for a
wiggle in the middle.
pass-through and
Okay.
some stuff on the sides. So that's a total of 10 tables, which is 80 people.
Okay.
Sounds good.
80, that's a good number.
Yeah.
I just sketched it out, and I had, if you have 5 foot in for the ends, and you start the tables, right? So you go 5 foot in, a 5 foot gap in the middle, you end up with 15 foot loss between those 3 spaces. And then you have 2 tables on each, between the gaps, on each end. So then you have got 16, right? That's 32 plus 15, so that'll be 47. So that's getting really close to the 50 foot. So that'd be 4 tables per row, and then it's 8 tables total, 8 times 8, so about 64 or something like that. I'm sketching it out.
Do you really need 5 feet at each end?
Pretty
Yeah,
close, probably.
Do you? Okay.
yeah, I think so.
Depends on what is the
Basically, you're giving
handicap
up a table for the pass-through, though.
requirements.
Well, it depends on, well, you're,
If you
aver-
need
you're
that much
you're
space
figuring
on
in
the
10
end.
feet.
36, but
and
they
then
you
he's
have
have
figuring
to be
in
able to-
15 feet.
Right.
The
And so I'm
wheelchair
asking
has
if
to
we
be able to
could,
completely spin.
What's the,
Right.
what's
Yeah.
We'd probably do it in the
problem?
ends,
I mean,
yeah.
Yeah.
Even if the table goes close to the end,
what's the problem with
Yeah.
that? That was what I was asking.
You don't
Why do you
necessarily
need
have
the
to
5
use-
feet at each end?
I think just most people are going to want to get into the shade zone and out of the drip zone and that kind of thing. So, yeah. Most people don't want to be outside of that. You just, if it rained or if it helps with shade, even though the shade's moving, obviously. Like
even if you had, you don't have to sit at the end.
That's what I was just gonna say.
Unless you
Right.
really want to squeeze 80 people in, you've got.
I'd rather see us try and get 80,
Right.
and then people just don't sit in those zones if you don't need to.
Yeah.
Okay, that's
But
good. We
then that
never
gives
got
you
to
the
this
most
detail, so it's good we're going there.
options about it.
So you could actually do 3 and 2, and that takes it up the extra
Right.
16 people, right? So you're up towards, yeah.
So back to Greg's original question, though. Do we
Would you
want to
make it
keep?
smaller to
would
get
we
the
make
barbecue?
it smaller to get the barbecue?
No. Would
So
be
if-
my response.
So we're kind of going for 50-foot minimum length.
I think 50 should be the minimum.
Well, that helps me then. So we'll go 50-foot minimum length, and we're going to make hopefully 10-foot, but we're going to see if it impacts the tree too much based on arborist advice, we'll bring it back. And
Yeah.
in worst case, we're just going to have minimal extension.
I think with the 30 by 30 and the other one, yeah, you should definitely go 50.
And would there be another-
50 minimum.
I'm sorry. Another place we could put a pad for a barbecue, if it came to that.
On
Would
the
there- Would there
backside
be
even.
another area,
Yeah,
a
if-
way, that wouldn't necessarily connect, obviously it wouldn't, but some other pad that we could put, or some other place that we could put a.
Well, or would you go to the backside, or would you finally go to the north side even though you don't like it because it's an option?
Or would you just use the one that's already on the west end?
Which we have.
Yeah, we've got
yeah.
that. But there's space in that southeast area. You know, if it, I mean, it seems like you've got options in that area if it doesn't.
You could even do,
It's an old
Bump it out at a different angle.
bump it out.
Exactly. I was just thinking
That
that,
was
we
what
don't,
I-
we don't have to stay that
You don't
direction.
have to stay, we can
So we
go
could
out and
crook it off a
further.
little bit like the first option was, just a touch in the same
I
position.
think,
Yeah.
I think that would be, I think Plan A would be to get the 10 feet, keep it right there where it is, and then
But
Plan
we could
B
also go
would
do
be if
something
you,
like
if
that.
the only way you can get it in is to move out from under that tree, or whatever the problem
Or
is.
kind of crook the top
Make it work.
top on the page off to the right a bit.
Yeah.
And make a little room for the barbecue in the back, okay?
Yeah.
That's
The,
right.
the only thing I will say is if you crook it off a bit, my issue with option 1A was that when it's at an angle like that, at the northeast corner, it creates this sort of dead space back there behind the
Under the tree over there.
under the trees, behind the picnic
Blocks
area,
it off.
blocks it off a little bit, blocks it off from the meadow, and wherever there's dead space, I hate to say it, that's kind of where trouble
Attractive
ends.
nuisance?
Exactly. So,
Which is a popular use of that barbecue, I think, already, right?
exactly.
I would say when we ballpark, half the time is
Yes.
the,
Okay, so let's.
So I would
okay.
just be careful if we do turn it a bit. We don't want to create this dead space that's shown on
So-
using option Y.
Is it, I know we don't like it on the north side, but is it just because we don't like it, or does it not work?
He said something about the,
Too close to
too
the
close to
houses?
the road or
Okay.
something.
well, I mean, I think you can move the whole shelter away from the
You
road
could
further,
move the-
right?
Can't you move the shelter south 10 feet? And you pour 10 feet of just concrete on the north?
But then you're cutting into the meadow.
You are cutting into the meadow.
We intentionally pushed it all the way that way already.
It
That
could,
was the idea of it.
it would not be the number one top solution.
But, so we're already pushing it back 5 feet from the access road.
Already.
Right? How much more would we need to push it back to put in a barbecue there?
5 more feet.
Because you have the 3 for the drip line, which I don't fully understand, but I'm just repeating what I heard. And then we would do the 5 just to be additionally farther away,
So it'd be 13
which is
feet.
8 feet from that line. And if you did another 5, you're up to 13 feet from
The road.
the road, from the, not even the road, from the
Railroad ties.
railroad, yeah,
Or
the
telephone
telephone,
poles.
I know, I screwed you up, sorry. The telephone pole.
No, so I mean, if I can help on it, I mean, would we say that fireplace is about, I'm just not used to siting fireplaces next to shelters, so I'm trying to get some idea of this, but I think that fireplace is probably 8 foot wide, right? The tile on it?
Whole thing?
Whole thing.
I'm gonna go with 8.
Sure.
I think
Okay.
that's about right.
Close to it.
So now you're
Eight.
talking, if the drip line is there, we just want to make sure, just to clarify, that the drip, if you don't have a little concrete there, it just creates a rut and it's always a mess.
Oh,
So if it
okay.
hits concrete, it's kind of nice to drift off of that. And
Okay, now, I'm sorry.
Stops the
I had something
erosion.
to say drip line, I kept thinking you were talking about the trees, and I
No,
was
yeah.
so confused about the concrete being over the drip, line. Okay, sorry.
Sorry, that
I'm
was,
clear now.
there's 2 drip lines, sorry, I threw those out. So that would be the roof kind of, along the beam. So if it's dripping there and you got the fireplace off, we just don't want it to smoke it out. I guess most of it's going up pretty good. It's about a 9-foot height roof is what we're going with.
Okay.
For this more commercial. So it'll be 9 foot clear, which is probably close to what this is in here. So it's up in there, and then if you had the barbecue over there, it's a little tight, but, we could push it right out against that log area there, and it might be we
You know
could
what?
basically work with
If
8, 10
We keep going
foot.
back and forth. The option, I think, would be better for us on that side, because then we wouldn't have to worry about angles over here or something like that. Just put
Well,
it,
that's what I was getting at. I don't like, we're talking about not liking the angle idea, so option A, first choice would be to put it on the east,
edge.
the east end, where whatever amount of extra concrete we can get. Okay, but if we can't get that because we're underneath the tree and impeding it, then to move it back
to the north side.
on the north side.
I agree.
Okay.
And it doesn't sound like we need to add too much more than what we're already gonna have. So
No.
ideally, we wanna get it as tight as we can in there, whatever is safe and pleasant and isn't gonna cause problems.
Right, okay.
But, so would that, so the preferred option would be the east side. And then if that doesn't work,
Then the north side.
then the north side,
To the east side.
to the north side.
Yeah, to the north side, and would we locate it as far as we can away
I-
from the restroom?
Northeast.
I would say no
Southeast
because it's
first,
underneath
northeast
the tree. And in fact, if it's on the middle of the north side, I don't think it matters that much. Or the south because it's close to the sinks. I don't know.
It'd be,
I would say it wouldn't be the northeast side, because the northeast side is right underneath
That
the
tree.
tree.
Uh-huh.
So it's either gonna be the middle or
Well, how
the
big, how
west.
far up is that canopy, though? It's not, nothing that's low to the ground. You're talking about maybe 25 feet, right? for the
Yeah,
canopy?
9 foot on the canopy drip line, and then it's about, I think comes up roughly 5 feet.
No, I'm talking about the
The
canopy
tree,
of the
you're
tree.
talking about the tree, Robert.
Oh, the
At
tree.
I mean, because that, if you're talking to being right under it, it can be right under it if it's, I mean, there are 100-year-old trees out there, so you're talking 25 feet or more for the
Yeah, I'm not
trunk.
sure how much grease really gets up in the air like that, yeah, how much of a
Yeah.
problem it is, yeah.
All right, so the north side wherever it works best,
Yeah.
as a secondary option?
How far away is the existing barbecue we're keeping from option 2A?
Isn't it?
You can kind of see it on the plan, maybe, that where it says restroom,
Yeah.
you go directly above
right
it,
here.
and there's
Right.
that tree right there, and it's just,
Yeah, there it
Little
is.
teeny
And it-
box
next to
right by
that
that.
but you know what, that's part of this plan's not
There's the
correct,
tree.
it's really right, more like on, right where that dark circle is, it's a big oak tree,
That thing out.
that's really a little more to the right, and that barbecue's just to the right of that.
Okay.
So it's roughly that shaded area, that's the paved area, the existing picnic, it's the bottom right, looking at the
Yeah.
page. It's roughly bottom right. So I mean, feet-wise, that's probably only,
What was your question, from the sink to the barbecue? Is that what?
No,
you're
from the barbecue we're keeping to the option 2A, how far is that in feet, ballpark?
You're
I'm
looking
not
at,
gonna hold you to it, but,
30 plus feet, 30,
okay.
That's a ways.
yeah, 30, 40 feet. Yeah, it's really not that bad.
asking? Wow. It's-
Whatever.
It's a ways for cooking.
Uh-huh.
But-
Yeah, a lot of,
but it's used usually just for singing and doing a little quick fire to, for when I've been by there.
you know, it might be on the east end, we don't need the whole pad going the full width of the concrete. We could kind of have a bumped out area too, with
That's, yeah, you
sufficient
could
space
bump
around
out
it.
like
Yeah.
if this is 30, what do we say, or 50 feet, you go 25 feet and then bump out, ideal for a pad back there in the back.
Right, you guys were preferred to do it on the top, which is the east side. You know, instead of doing the whole width, the whole 30-foot width, we can maybe just do a little bump out, maybe
Yeah,
a 10-foot pad,
yeah.
and put the barbecue in the middle.
I think it should,
I think
yeah,
the full width would be better unless there's a reason not to.
The what's that?
I think the full width would be better unless there's a reason not to, because one of the things we
Right.
were talking about before is people bring, like, banquet tables and set them up to prep on and things like that. It's not, if you can't do it, you can't do it, but optimally, it would be nice just to do the whole width, I think.
yeah, and I, to be honest with you, I don't like bumping out it even 5 more feet from where we had it, just because I feel like now we're just keep bumping it
You're losing the
out.
meadow again.
We're going back to losing the meadow,
Going on
which
that
was our
side,
whole
you mean,
option. This was the whole point for
This
straightening it
might
out,
be
so.
Okay, well, I think I have some good guidance there. And we-
Southeast corner if we can.
When we finalize the survey, because I was having a hard time, this is really somehow, a bunch of different information brought together that's
Yeah.
not all that accurate. So we're going to have an accurate survey, an actual site plan. We'll take it to the council on the 26th. They have to authorize it before it go to bid. So, and then at that point, I'll just bring it back to you at the first meeting in February. It's already going to be out to bid, but we can always do an addendum if we decide to tweak something a little bit at
Or
that
will you
point.
just send us
I
all an
like it.
email?
And I could send
When
the
you have
plan
the
out on
final
email.
plan, just so we can see it?
So
Especially if we have a
what
choice.
condition is that smaller barbecue in?
The one in area two.
Yeah.
It's, and the actual structure itself is in good shape. The grates need.
Okay, so we could
need
just
to be
change the
changed
grades.
out,
Okay.
but, yeah, it's in
Okay.
good shape, but you're just thinking just to keep it, why keep it? Is that-
Well, no, I was saying, why do we really want it out in the open then, away from everything? Get the other one built and then eventually take that one out.
Yeah, you could,
Yeah.
if you get the other one.
But the other one's, it's
I
gotta
think
stay
you're right.
there.
I don't think it'll get used much either,
No.
once.
So one,
everything-
and then that's gonna
once
give us
the
even
newness is
more
built.
open space,
Yeah.
so people can be
Exactly.
around there and dig up all that asphalt and get it out there. We don't have to put it back.
Yeah.
So, unless you do your walkway, so.
Well, now we've decided this, we can go ahead and mark it more accurately, and I'll work with arborist to get that spot nailed down.
Great.
And, I might even, if we got a few options, I'll try to do that where you send out the email to everybody so they can look at it and form an opinion on it. And maybe I'll kind of indicate what we're
gonna look
doing.
very
I think
Well,
there was a little tricky on the Brown
Really
Act.
can't, yeah, we really can't do that by Brown Act. And just the other thing to keep in mind is, we could always go to council with this direction, but, once council's given their action on it, that's more or less final unless unless the council wants to give us some discretion there to make changes, so, which we could certainly ask them
Why
to
don't we
do.
just attend the council meeting if they got any questions and they want to talk about something, then we can discuss it there. Maybe we can do that. As a
Right.
park commission. Oh, no, that would be the Brown Act too.
We'd need to do a joint meeting for that.
You could, I guess, have a little ad hoc committee that kind of has input of people with direction, and after we're kind of nail it down, and then we could use that, advice for the final location.
I think we provided enough for you to do what you need to do, and maybe we can just, what is the issue with sending it out email just for Art to take a look at?
We can provide it for
Look at it.
information, but it would be getting comments back and trying to form any type of
Well, why don't
Well, why don't we
consensus,
do this?
right?
Why don't we
Can reply to
take a
all.
look at it? If we feel we need a meeting, is that us again? If we need a meeting to discuss a change, then we just,
I kind of feel like we're in this rinse and repeat cycle and rinse and repeat, and we've got to get something to council on the 26th so that we can get this thing out
I
to
think
bid
we
and
just give them directed
get
like
it
we
out
did
to
tonight.
go.
Let's go.
Yeah.
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 And
No,
we're-
and the thing about the emails, you can email us out what you come up with. We
Right.
just don't respond
Absolutely.
as a group. You can't do group responses. Oh, sorry, my mic is on. We can all get an email with what you
Right.
come up with.
What
We
if all the
just can't group
commissioners said, it
respond.
looks great, or if they all said,
Well, we're
I like
giving
this one, I
you-
like that one, and I could, I guess that's.
Basically,
You-
we're giving
That's the part you
you,
don't want to do.
Right.
Silence.
Well, no, the
Public
thing,
has to have an opportunity to give their input.
we're giving you the direction right now. You come up with to make it fit there.
Okay.
Yep.
and then you'll send it out to us, and that's helpful for us if we are going to the meeting to
Yeah.
have that.
And then at
That's
the
what I
council
want.
meeting, I'll request some flexibility on that, because I really think we're down to some detail here. I guess we have the mayor here as well, and I mean, I'm sure they'll probably say, you guys go ahead and work out that detail.
Yeah.
I like it overall.
So, and we'll have a little flexibility to tweak it within kind of the option 1A and 2A right now. The 1A and 1B, right? So we'll,
I think
we'll
that's
option
great.
to tweak in there, yep.
I think it's huge progress from where we started.
Yeah.
Yeah,
Thanks for all the hard work. I
Thank
think
you,
we're getting there.
okay,
Yeah,
Great.
thanks for working with us. Appreciate
Yeah.
that.
yeah,
Yeah.
I think that worked out well.
It's gonna look really nice.
Great.
Okay.
Sophocles, I had a question regarding the new picnic areas real quick.
Sure.
When these are reserved, is slightly off topic real quick, but when these are reserved, they're reserved at the Parks and Rec Department, correct?
Yes.
And then if somebody reserves them and then goes out and somebody's using it, how is that enforced on a Saturday or Sunday?
By the user. So we always give them a copy of their permit,
Okay.
their picnic permit, and if someone just shows up, and they haven't reserved it, that person has their actual application,
Yeah,
and they just say, sorry, I've reserved it. I suppose if we were really trying to up our game, we would have some sort of, once it was reserved, we would have some sign out there that says.
That's my thing. That I
reserved.
want to
So-
just have a panel, it's reserved on this date, you know.
Yeah, I
Once
was
we
just
get a
asking
little
because these
more-
are going to be nice, they'll
Yeah,
be new,
they-
they'll be
People's
attractive.
gonna want 'em.
Exactly.
We'll have to be a little more.
You said it's already pretty busy,
fine-tuned.
so-
We'll have to be more fine-tuned. The fact that they will be covered shelters now, I agree. They'll
can just-
probably get a lot more use, and we just put a sign out there.
Yeah, just
That
a,
says reserved.
reserved on this date and the family. Actually,
then-
have a clear, like a swing frame or something, just a clear thing that you can put the actual permit that the person that's taking it out behind it.
Potentially, yeah.
Yeah.
So, but now they do it the old-fashioned
Okay.
way is, it's mine. I reserved it. You'll have to leave.
All right, just curious. Thank you.
They do have a telephone number to call if there's some
There
problem
is.
in term, but that's really more like,
Emergency,
Yeah.
like
Okay.
power won't come on.
So you don't
Right.
want to get a call, make you
I
come
would-
out.
I wouldn't mind if they needed help sending the person off, but no, it's actually Public Works that's on call.
So Greg gets the call.
Actually, they have once or twice gone out there on some sort of dispute, but it's very rare.
Okay.
Most of the time, but
Just curious with the new stuff coming in.
we'll
so-
have to get more sophisticated.
I think you're going to see a big usage
Yeah,
increase
we'll have to
for
get
that.
more.
I think just the
up-to-date on-
attractiveness of it. People aren't going to go out and Soul Park.
Right. Okay.
Yeah.
Thank
Yeah.
you.
I'm sorry, as a very final thing, I just want to confirm that for the anti-graffiti frame colors, it was basically the same colors, did everything the same colors, and it was Yeah, because they had brown, bronze, and dark green. So we were going for brown for both. We're bronze for the roof because they didn't have a brown. So we're going brown for the roof, and then we're going to go brown.
Bronze for the roof.
Bronze
and
for the
brown
roof.
for the columns.
For the columns.
Yeah,
And
brown for the
brown
columns,
for the
yeah.
columns.
Right, not the black that was,
Not
okay.
black.
Okay,
Right.
all right, we're good with that, thanks.
Thanks, Greg.
Thank you.
All right, discussion item 8B, the capital improvement plan.
Thank you, Chair. Vice Chair Ittner and I did get together and spent some time preparing the spreadsheet for you. And what we did is we titled this document. So it's now titled the Parks and Recreation Commission Recommended Project List, because that's really what we're working on here, is the list of recommendations from the commission in terms of what they'd like to see. And then what we did is we broke it up by columns. You'll see there PRC, which obviously is Park and Recreation Commission, and then for each fiscal year. So the first column is the Park and Recreation Commission's recommendations for fiscal year 15-16. And then the column to the immediate right of each one of those PRC fiscal year columns shows what's in the approved capital improvement plan or the projected capital improvement plan as you go forward. So what you've got then is columns side by side of what the commission is recommending, what's in the CIP plan or what's in the projected CIP plan to kind of see how that actually meshes and fits together. And I think the idea here was for the commission to consider perhaps other projects or to give some further prioritization. It's good, I think, that we're getting into this about right now because, believe it or not, it'll seem like we're getting into the budget cycle pretty quickly, and so if we need to do some research and get some numbers, it's good that we're starting to do this work now.
Mm-hmm.
The other part that I think is to this, and I'm sure the Vice Chair will have some comments as well, I'm still trying to get the numbers from Finance Department in terms of what we've got in our recreation balance. So I'm sorry I still don't have that yet, because I know that the Commission would like to give some recommendations in terms of once we have that, know what that balance is, kind of look at some of these smaller projects, quote unquote, lower hanging fruit that we might be able to knock off here. You know, we talked about some of these smaller improvements that might make a big impact to some of the classes and some of the uses in the park. So, happy to answer any questions.
I've got a quick question. Where are we at with the skate park and their fundraising activities? Are we anywhere near what they're supposed to come up with? And
That's still fluid at this point. I don't know exactly what number they have or where they're at.
I don't think
They're not sitting on the full amount of money.
okay,
We recently went back to the planning commission to get the design review permit extended for an additional year so that we
Okay.
didn't have that expire.
all right.
and
So that
potentially-
20 might be carrying over, correct?
That-
It might go if it doesn't get done this year, then it's going to go to 16, 17.
And that's, just so that we're clear, that's a recommendation from the Parks Commission at this
Yes.
point. There's actually nothing in the CIP plan or
Yes,
any
okay.
city funds that have been budgeted
So we can
for the
renew
lights.
our request if it doesn't happen.
Absolutely.
Okay.
Sure.
And I think that's the advantage of, thank you for putting this together like this. I think that's the advantage of this layout.
This is great.
Is we can really see all these years and where we're putting things and we feel like we're
Absolutely.
balanced and where we're focusing and
Absolutely.
where we want to try and focus the money. And the other thing that I just want to reiterate, because I now understand this, is that the CIP is only adopted for a year, and then there's a recommended one that is for the next year, and that anything beyond
Yeah.
that
Is-
is just planning. And the city
Exactly.
has documents that have these numbers in there because there is a long-range CIP
I think, what is it,
plan.
a 10-year plan? Is it
It's 5 years, right?
5 years?
Is that how far we're going out on
I
this?
think you have more than 5, don't you?
Is it
I
more
thought
than
it was
5?
10
I mean,
years.
we officially release 5, and then, yeah, it's 5, and then
Yeah.
a lot of times we're programming out a
Yeah.
lot further in certain
Yeah,
cycles.
'cause that's what we.
So the
yeah.
only adopted is the 1 year, and then the recommended for the next year, right?
Yeah,
Correct.
and then, but you have a 5-year look ahead or a 10-year look ahead or whatever.
But you only adopt a year, and then have
Yeah, you
a-
can't go.
Yeah,
beyond
5-year
that.
look
You
ahead
don't-
would be
you
great,
don't know
but
the
Yeah.
in 1
physical
year,
so-
yep.
you
Right,
know.
exactly, but I just wanted to, I wanted to
Yeah,
clarify.
we don't know if something's
We've
gonna
had
happen and
confusion about that here.
Yeah,
no one comes to Ojai and visits the inn or something.
sure, right.
And so and then the other thing is that what's on here and is reflected in this was taken from notes and lists that we've made in previous discussions over multiple meetings.
When I look at it, I think it's great.
When I see it as a starting point.
You
We
bet.
finally got it right here in place, and now we can look at it, and these things can move, and we can talk
You
about
move them
it.
back and forth, yeah.
Nothing's set in stone, but it was based on some prioritization lists that we'd made, and the other thing is to start looking for better numbers. Like you're saying, we're early. We have
Right.
time to go after, what would this really cost? What are good estimates versus, because that slowed us down. Some things haven't made it to the list because we couldn't put a number on them.
Yeah.
And so I'm hoping that this will flesh out a little better than some of those other multiple lists that we're trying to cobble together, because it'll all be contained here and we'll be able to have the time. So Steve, thank you so much for doing this.
I think that's what you were explaining, is
Yeah.
that low-hanging fruit, how much we have in that one fund, that we might be able to bring these small projects in, and just do them now.
Yeah, I was hoping to have that for tonight's discussion, but they're still working on it, so I apologize.
So my question is, we have in particular, you have the bike park and the skate park lights as, 37,000 or so. Once we get that number of the quote-unquote money we have allotted for the low-hanging fruit, how long do we hold the skate park and the bike park funds? Because my concern is, what if those don't happen, those groups don't raise their money for 2 years down the road, 3 years down the road,
Well,
and we're
I think you
holding
keep
the
revisiting
third.
it.
You just revisit, yeah,
Right,
because
but on the flip
it's
side,
not
we
really
have 20
there.
grand that we are holding for the skate park that we could actually use for, say, the roof or the shade structure or whatever.
This is all about priorities, though, and this is the discussion we have.
I-
Is
I-
where
yeah.
do we come because the only way to do big things is to plan ahead when you have the money and to set it
Exactly.
aside. Because, which isn't to say you don't do some of the smaller projects, but, so even from my perspective, if there were 37,000 out there that didn't get spent, and we know we want to do Sarzodi in 18, 19, they'll never be, you could always use more money on the playground, as we found out.
Yeah,
Yeah.
But, so it's not like we won't find a good place to spend it.
yeah.
But are we just going to sit on it?
Well, I think it would be something that we would have to agree upon every year.
Yeah.
Okay, well, how close are they again? If they're not making any forward moving progress, then I think we have to revisit it and say, okay, guys, when you do get it, come back to us and we'll see what we can help you with.
Right. But I
That's
think,
sorry, go ahead.
sorry, the footnote on here about, assuming there's about $50,000 a year, that means that if we don't have to sit on that money, because we're assuming that the next year there's going to be some more money, and we could do the bike park or the skate park the next year with that next bit of money. If there's stuff right down on the priority list right below it, if we know we're not going to do the skate park or bike park, why not pick
Well,
up some of those other things?
Basically, you would borrow from it, and then you would have to pay it back on good times. But I think the thing is that we're going to know within a year if they're making any progress. And if it doesn't look like they are, then what is our option? Do we go ahead and do it all, as the city, or do we say, okay, we're going to revisit this at another time when you guys have a goal set to where you're going to be? Then we start looking at it when your goal hits this point, and then we come in so that we've got plenty of time to plan for some extra funds.
I think the other thing, though, one of the ways I look at it too, is we're talking about two different pools of money as well.
Yeah,
When we
exactly.
exceed our expectations, that's a pool of money. And then there is the money that we're looking at every year. And that money that we're looking at every year, as much as there's prioritization that we'd like to do with it, there's also the prioritization that is, this has to be done now,
Yeah.
and this money's going there, and that's it. And so I kind of see them almost as slightly different pools of money, because that which is in excess I think should have in some ways slightly different goals for it than that which is going to be there every year, and we know we're going to need to spend a lot of the times in the same way. But so for me, if we're spending that in excess and we carry it even for 3 years, but then we have another really big project, I don't feel like we're losing anything sometimes by keeping that, because it's still capital that we're gonna be able to spend, and the more you have at a certain point, you can do bigger, better projects. So I could see it both ways. I wouldn't say don't spend it just, to save it, but, looking that far forward, but at the same time, I don't feel a huge push.
Right.
If you have big plans.
Sure, yeah. I think if there were other small plans that were kind of 2 or 3 years out and you could bump those forward because it looks like these projects are going to get bumped back a little bit.
And my concern is that we're not putting off certain projects that are just simply keeping up with what the existing facilities
Right.
in the hope that the skate park and the bike park people are going to
That's
come
why-
through with their money.
Yeah, that's why I say every year you look at it
Yeah,
and
I
say, hey,
agree.
you didn't meet your goal, then we've got to look at other options to invest that money into, like,
Right.
Yeah.
new tennis, whatever, or a bathroom remodel or something, you
Okay.
know.
That was my
I
concern. For
told,
instance,
yeah, no, I agree to that.
like the gym floor, the sand and refinish,
Exactly.
that was a prime thing that, we don't have scheduled on our list until 18-19.
Yeah, but we could right now, if we,
And that's something we might want to look into beforehand. And
Right.
I didn't want to hold the 37
the
grand and be like, well,
18-19
maybe they'll come through.
was a recommendation on your part, you said that it had,
It had life
I
till
think
then.
so.
had
yeah.
that life
Yeah.
in it still, you figured, right, Saf?
I think so.
Yeah.
It wasn't, it isn't, we're not in a hurry to do it.
Question I had was, there's nothing slated for 16, 17?
Right.
What?
Again, this has been kind of this is a compilation of multiple lists into a spreadsheet. So
Okay.
that's the work we need to do.
Okay,
So this is just the starting point to start the work.
Understood.
I mean, we've had discussions, but we haven't had it in a matrix
Okay,
kind of,
that makes
so,
sense.
in
Yeah.
a spreadsheet.
okay. Another question I had was on the Sarzati playground. There's a footnote about this double counting. It seems like a pretty big number, 470,000 total funding. I was wondering kind of what's that?
Which, I'm
Like-
which part?
So on the Sarzati playground, if you look all the way to the right, total funding is
Uh-huh.
470,000. Is
That
that?
seems like a big number?
Well, it says here they're double
That
counting.
does not seem like a big number to me, but,
No, okay. I mean, we just did Libby and.
Something double counted, I agree.
yeah,
something.
no, there is.
Yep.
Yeah,
Oh, I see what you're saying, that doesn't add up.
It doesn't add up to that number, yeah.
Oh, yeah, it does.
yeah,
Right
no.
condition, but something, not double counted, but something is not
So,
correct there.
Like
What-
we spent 300 on
Yes.
Libby. We're going to spend for
We have differing amounts in different years. I mean, you have 260 in 18-19 and
Yeah.
another.
How do you have?
why
well,
150 back in?
Right.
But, yeah, so my question is.
Your only,
is-
your question is, I understand
why
what
is
you're
it
saying,
100?
is why is back there at 150 way back there?
No, it's more what Sophocles is pointing out, that if we just spent $300,000 for the Libby Park, why do we expect the Sarzati one to be 50% more
You're
than that?
talking 5 more year, or what, 3 more years?
Well, I guess there's an unassigned column. What is that unassigned?
Yeah, it's,
$150,000.
It just means.
I remember what I did, it was about a month ago, sorry.
I think, so the question really is, why so much money for that park?
Yeah.
Right, no, I get the question.
And I
So-
think, from my perspective, I don't know that we would do exactly what we did at Libby at
So it might be
Sarzati. There's so much
labor,
diversity in what you're going
okay.
to do with the playground. I don't think the number's that out of,
well, there's the Libby Park.
when we come
water
up with our
element
totals on everything,
five, and- I mean,
I don't think it's an unreasonable number.
I remember it took me a moment, and I'm sorry this is very confusing, but I can explain at least what I was thinking, and maybe it'll make sense now. So the adopted CIP shows, for better or worse, it shows for the Sarzati playground, $260,000 in fiscal year 18-19 and $40,000 in fiscal year 19-20. I'm not,
Which was
So
then
that's
you build at
300.
1920, which is,
That's still
The-
the same year. Actually, we could use it before or.
kind of,
Yeah.
yeah. The 150,000 was, I believe, what the recommendation was from the Parks Commission, if I recall, for the playground funding. And so that's why that got thrown into the unassigned area.
okay.
And that seems like an appropriate budget. If
Should've
you had
explained
the
it better.
470 minus the 150.
Right.
The 320.
320
It's
is right in
basically in the
there. Okay.
ballpark
Basically,
of.
So
Libby,
let's get rid of the 150 off the spreadsheet, the 150,000, sorry.
Sure, yeah,
And then just go with the 320.
320.
makes sense. Yeah, and I'm sorry, I apologize, right, there was also 20,000 of that for the same project in fiscal year 17-18, so,
Back there. Mhm.
right.
So that'd be kind of like design
plan,
and then
yeah.
Yeah, that would be yeah, exactly. It'd be the design
Right.
guys.
So yeah,
Which I
so
don't know
that,
if 20,000
so that would
is
make
gonna
that
cover it.
320,000.
I would actually,
I would
based on our
actually
experience,
say that
it's
at
probably
30.
going to be closer to 35
I was gonna
plus.
say
Yep.
35 or 40,000.
I think a 380 budget would be more in line with, but
So, yeah.
Well, is the
This
envision to
is-
do something similar that we did, or I would?
we haven't had that
No.
discussion yet.
Yeah,
Yeah.
I would think.
But the,
We haven't even gotten to that point. I mean, this is so, we don't have a plan.
right.
We just know we need a new playground.
But that, yeah, right.
And do you see
That's
you have your
something by the end
water?
of the year, we should be starting
You
to
working
talk
on?
about by the end of 16 and stuff. We should have something pretty well so that we can get out there on 17 and start getting a design that we can all start looking at. Because remember, we were rushed. This time we can at least take our time, get it all ready, and then you're not thrown under the bus trying to get everything done within a week because we have a deadline, that we wanted it built.
Well,
This one here, we could start back here in the appropriate time and then carry it. But anything, I think that, by June, we should be talking about it,
Yeah. But can we, for the numbers in the CIP columns, can we change those or recommend changes? Like if we think it's going to cost more to do the design than 20,000?
I tell you what I would do. I don't know if you guys agree with this. I would switch that 40,000 from 1920 down to the 1718 spot and take that 20,000 and shove it out there in 1920.
okay. The other thing I have to bring up is if the process we just did, we might do that again. But if we don't choose to do that again, the design is far less. That is a different process where you're loading in the design, because it's not just design, it's
Oh,
facilitation of the process.
I think you're gonna see
I'm-
that, this
no, but I just-
public gonna wanna do another one. I think they're gonna be out there.
But I just want to put out there
Oh,
that
exactly,
those
yeah.
numbers, it depends on how you're going to go after it. And if we do that again, their design is not just design.
Well,
It's the
yeah.
facilitation of the process. And so it is more expensive because it's more than that. But
Right.
when we were looking at proposals, the design fees if you choose a different approach, much less.
Okay.
And I
But then
think
the
that's
labor
a
fees
really
would
good
be-
point, Commissioner Intner, was that if you do recall, there was one really great proposal we had, and they were proposing that it's all prefabricated equipment. It was very dynamic equipment.
Great,
and-
yeah, it was a great
Yeah.
layout.
And it might be more appropriate in that park, but they were also willing to do the volunteer build.
With that
the-
type of
The
equipment.
community build, so it's all pre-built, pre-manufactured equipment. It comes and it's a huge kit, and they actually have their people on site for a couple
But
of weeks.
it's different. So,
or weeks.
and that one, you don't pay
You know,
that amount in the design because
exactly.
you're not including all of the construction management and all the
So
volunteer
would
coordination.
would you agree then, Greg and Steve, that we take that 40 from 1920 and replace it with the 20,000? So that we've got that
You have
amount of money
options.
for design?
Yeah.
Yeah, I would say that's where you want to start putting that in your PRC columns in terms of what the commission wants to recommend. So, you
So
could,
that's, okay.
you could move them up, you could move them back, you could recommend a higher amount, lower amount.
Okay.
So the CIP columns in here, can we change those numbers? No.
No.
Okay.
We can make our recommendations in our PRC column, which then council will see.
Right.
Which is that is our recommendation.
Okay.
Right.
But the changes to the CIP don't happen here.
Got it. Okay. So
And
this
again,
is,
it's really a planning tool,
At this point, yeah.
after this
This isn't
fiscal
adopted
year
anyway.
for
Got it.
everyone, really.
okay.
It's an all new ball.
And I don't even know where the assumptions are on where the funding for some of this would come from. Like, I don't know where the 260,000, where we're proposing to pull that from.
Mhm.
So those are all,
Yeah, we'd have to look at the breakdown on the fund there so on that one, I can't remember off the top of my head for the
I think
Sarzati
our
Playground.
biggest hope there was that hopefully the Ojai Civic Association would be
Yeah,
more
you had that
interested
as
in
an
this
other
project. They've
fund.
already indicated they thought Sarzati was in more need of a playground than Libby. So there's a decent chance. I mean, they've always been against the prevailing wage cost and so on, and this seems like this is ripe for not, if we did a community build again, either prefabricated or the custom job, that it would hopefully be a lot more, interesting to them.
And not to get too deep in the weeds here tonight, but assuming, which is a big assumption, that we could get their support, usually they're going to do a one-to-one. So we might want to be looking at, maybe we might probably need to be
we need to find.
half of that coming from some city fund or some other fund.
And I think that's assumed. roughly.
Okay.
In the past, they have done either 1 to 3 or 1
Take this-
ratio.
This clean.
One half or
streets
one
are
third.
Part of
But,
it.
and then I know earlier we had assumed CDBG at that point, but that's no longer going to be available to us. So
Right.
that's another assumption that was built into, I believe, these numbers.
Yeah, you're right.
This is going to happen. Yeah,
I think that actually, in this assumption, the CDBG may be there.
that's what I mean, and it is not there. So
And
this
it's-
assumption is
We've
old
learned that
and
this
not-
year, that they're
Yep.
completely cut out any recreation. So that actually, I think it reflects, you might see it in that detail.
Unless we can do a joint playground
This one.
homeless shelter.
Right, exactly, with ADA access.
No,
Right.
I have- no.
I'd like to see that.
Oh, it's on the next page, isn't it?
But
So
yeah,
I
a
think then
lot-
that's where I think we come back to the numbers and what's even in here on both sides. Because I know that when we spoke of this before, and when we put this, when this went into the CIP in the future, it was assuming CDBG money, and that's no longer an option. So that's like when we talk about that $37,000 or whatever it is, I think
Yeah.
that, don't look at these numbers and assume that this is real numbers for
That's
what we
good,
need.
yeah.
We're gonna need to work hard to figure out how to get that money there.
Okay.
But at the same time, and I completely agree with that, I would say be careful not to sell yourself short. If the commission really feels, hey, we need this, and we
Ask
think
for
it
it.
needs
Yeah.
to be at blank, then I would say that's your recommendation.
That makes
Yeah.
sense. Thank
I
you.
mean, obviously, we need to have some basis of reality here, which is why we try at least for for the next upcoming year to try to say, hey, look, here's really what we're looking at in terms of the dollar figures and try to give us some priorities in that. But beyond that, it's pretty fluid.
I think we'll also get numbers from the master plan, rough numbers. Won't they
Right.
give us, they will give us rough estimates when that master plan is done of
part of
what,
the work, yeah.
what will come out of that. Because I think that was part of what comes out of that, our final package from them. And there were two options, there was the one with a kid's playground, a tots playground, and a teen playground. And I'm hoping that out of that, we will get costs on those
I bet-
three
yeah, you
different.
should.
Because, no, they talked about, rough costs coming out of that plan. So that will, I'm hoping, when we're done with the Sarasota master plan, give us at least a starting point for that discussion.
Well, I, with that, and knowing these years out too, we can agree that this is what we want right now, and then we can always change it, so.
Okay, so we put 40 in 17-18, 20 in 19-20.
1920.
And then do we want to mirror in ours what the city has, the 260 for 18-19?
Yeah, I want to, if I could interject quickly, I think it is going to be a big impact, because we're assuming we'd roll up our 50,000 per year for CDBG. We've
You
really,
you were figuring you were being able to keep that for 3 years and have 150 straight off the
Exactly.
bat.
And that's
that
it.
150 will not be there.
it's a big impact,
Yeah.
right?
So I'm sorry, could you give that to me again? I didn't get my pen down to the paper fast enough.
Oh, we were in our columns for PRC 17-18, for Sarasota would be 40,000.
Okay, I did have it right.
Right, and then PRC 18-19 would be 20,000.
Okay.
Or no, sorry, 260,000. I'm sorry,
260.
to
Yeah.
mirror what's already in the CIP.
Got it.
And then in 1920, we would have 20 instead of 40,
I see. Okay.
which is just showing a prioritization of front-loading the project with more cash up front to make sure we have
Okay.
enough for design.
Okay.
Exactly.
right?
Yep.
That's exactly it.
Yeah, having this table is great because we can have these discussions.
Exactly, it just gives us a framework.
Yeah. So thanks for putting this together.
Gives us, we're gonna have to start really tightening up and looking at things different.
Well, and the fact that CDBG is gone,
In a
That
way, it
was-
knocks
we were-
150,000 off this program. yeah.
right straight
Right.
off. Yeah,
Is there grants that we can try to obtain, being this far out from?
I should say 200, because it's 4 years shown really out forward here, and it's, because we already had it allocated for this year, and,
what did
yeah.
we have it allocated for this year? That it's not going to do?
Well, let's see, Help of Ojai took.
Oh, this was there, that would have been theirs anyway. 'cause
Right.
It alternates.
Well,
Okay.
then we're using it for the picnic project, the CDBG
Right.
this
But
year.
that's the money we already had.
Yes, I'm sorry.
Right, that was going back a few years, yeah.
I misunderstood.
No, that's okay, but so that what we wouldn't have, we didn't plan for money because we wouldn't have gotten it that time. It wasn't our cycle.
Right.
Okay.
We were actually assuming that we would be able to lock it for the next few years, because Help is generally the other entity that we kind of work with on that money that's allocated. Anybody's open to compete for it, but generally the most likely to get it besides us. So that project they just did locked up so it seemed like the future years were kind of open. So I assumed for the next 4 years we'd have it.
And that's where that money came from for Sarasota. That's,
Yeah.
so that's what I was remembering. So we
Well,
don't-
But
yeah, I think
isn't-
it was 3 at 50. I think it was 150,000.
Okay.
Isn't there any park and recreation grants that you could possibly pull for playgrounds and stuff? Is there a grant that we can get from the state? Or?
There's a million of them out there, and I'm not as familiar with the Parks and Rec Department grants. I just know they're not anywhere as easy to get, but they're out there.
But again, this comes back to timing.
Mhm.
We're in a better place than we usually are if we know we're going after it for a certain year. We can do our research ahead of time. And
Exactly.
It's a great part of having a master plan, too, is that they really appreciate you've thought it through and you know where you're going on these things.
And that may be something
your
as a
last name,
commission that we want to consider having a committee to work on that.
Mhm.
Because I know that the grants always
Definitely.
come down to staff time.
Right,
And,
exactly.
you know, when people have time to do that, and I think that there's not a grant writer on staff at the city, so.
We've been pretty successful in Public Works doing it, but we're loaded up now with these grants, and they take
Well, you have to
now you've
maintain
got
all
the
the
money
records
and you've
for
got to
'em
move
and-
them, you know, and it
Yeah.
takes a whole lot of effort then.
Yeah.
Well, so maybe at some point that might be another ad hoc committee for us that could work with Greg, since you guys have already been successful. Maybe you could work with that committee to, you know, give some guidance.
Yeah, if
grants,
the
yeah.
committee could locate some grants and try to target them, because I think that's something that,
Oh, if you, yeah, we can do that. I can search out some.
Well, so let's, yeah, that's a discussion for tonight too. Assignments.
Yep.
So that could be a new assignment.
Mhm.
Okay, so back to this. We talked a lot about Sarasota, which is years out,
Yeah.
which is good that we are, but
But, so we have a list of 15, 16 stuff, which looks good. So for 16, 17, do we want to move, is there anything we would want to move forward? Because we don't have anything there right now.
and then there's two questions there, which is, are we weighing in on, because there is a CIP proposed, that's the city's CIP. How do we feel about that?
Okay.
And, you know, do those make sense to us? Move them to our column? Yeah, that makes sense.
Oh.
And then picking some others, not knowing what we might have as additional funding to put in that column.
Well, Greg,
Right.
can you remind me why we've got the Sarzati picnic canopy and pad on 2 different years? I pulled that right off the list and was going to ask
I
that earlier.
think that's the total estimated budget, and it's just broken out, assuming it occurs over 2 years. So it was assuming it would start, because our fiscal year ends in July 1st, it ends up breaking over 2 years. So the
Right.
total,
Go over 2 years.
the total estimate's correct. We'll see what the numbers come in at when we bid it. But that was our estimate, the total.
But wouldn't most of it end up falling in this fiscal year?
Well, the way that we just got
Turned
pushed
out.
by, I think we're still going to roll over the fiscal
Okay,
year. Uh-huh.
okay,
But
okay.
is it,
Just want,
for the canopies, that's not all from CIP though, right? That
That's this is the-
345.
You're talking about funding, CDBG money.
Right, but is that, so CDBG is included in these numbers?
Yes, these numbers on this
Yeah.
page don't
Yeah.
break out funding sources.
Okay.
It's
Right.
It gets a little more complicated, because, and this, the CIP is just lumped together every bit of money that's going to be spent on that.
Got it.
And that's what the other spreadsheet does a better job of breaking out by fund.
Okay,
Other
Just make sure we
funds-
give credit to Ojai Civic Association.
Yes.
They're roughly a third,
of
and the
it.
CDBG's a third, and then city's a third.
got it, okay, so that's
thank you,
everything.
Greg.
But that is,
I mean, it also, I think, once we have the Sarzati master plan, that then we can add a bunch of items to here, and probably some of
With
those
estimated costs.
would fit
Yeah.
into
Exactly.
this 16, 17, hopefully.
yeah. I
So
think
regarding 15, 16, numbers and stuff that everybody, that we have numbers down here. Is everybody
And
comfortable
15
with that? Do we have comments on that?
And 15, 16, we don't know what we have to spend.
Correct.
Not out of the recreation
Beyond the recreation
overage,
piece,
right,
that's an
right.
overage
That
that
was
isn't
the-
allocated already.
that's
Because the other
number we
monies
need.
are already all allocated.
Exactly.
And
right.
so those
It's
are
pretty
not
much set.
pretty much set. So the piece that we'd be talking about would be whatever the magical dollar amount is. We don't know.
Exactly.
Yeah, really, 16, 17 would be the thing I would say the commission would
Focus on.
really want to focus on primarily over
Until
the
we know
next
that
couple
number.
of months. Right, right.
Yeah.
Well, yeah,
As soon as we know that number for
so that you can have a good recommendation, you
the
know,
next,
that you've really worked out to give the council as we get
Gotcha.
into the budget thing in, you know, May and June this year.
Okay.
So we're starting at a good time. We still have some time
Right.
to work on it and
So-
massage numbers and whatnot.
lights is on there for the CIP. So the Sarzodi pieces are the lights, the basketball court, and the picnic canopy, which is already well underway and pretty much set,
Right, and the trash enclosure.
in the trash enclosure.
So the gymnastics equipment, that's on like an every other year?
That's a good
That's something we
question.
were going to provide them yearly?
Well, that was,
We only have it on there once, and I think we were thinking
Well,
of
it's
the
out
rec-
in the CIP in 17, 18 as well.
Yeah, that's, that-
Oh.
it should go out a little further.
let me see.
Oh, I see what you're saying, so it's, okay. 15, 16, and then 17, 18.
If for some reason, we had that in the adopted CIP, but again, this is all very malleable, so we could move it around. And yeah, the 10 that we have for this year is, I think we were hoping to do that out of the rec money.
Okay, and so so the only time that it's on the CIP is 17, 18. The other time is on our recommended.
That's right. Yep,
Correct.
It's not on the CIP.
that's correct.
Okay.
So that, yeah, that makes a difference.
It's still confusing, just less confusing.
Yep, I would agree. And it's always a moving target, too.
Yeah.
Which makes it fun.
Yeah, because I don't know where we got necessarily the estimate for the Boyd Courtyard shade at 5,000. Maybe it's going to be more, depending on what.
I think we had a
depending on
discussion of
we
what
do.
solution we came up with.
What is going to be the,
Well, and I think what we were talking about when we put the 5,000 down was maybe not a forever solution.
Right.
But a very workable, like 3 or 4 year solution, which would be the shade cloths is what we had talked about. And getting them across so that you could do it with a minimal expense, but get immediate use. I think was the thought on the 5,000. It
That was-
wasn't looking at it doing
like
a,
That's
a
what was discussed,
long-term-
yes.
like a long-term structure, so
Yeah.
to speak.
Right.
But like you said, a shade sale.
that would immediately allow for programming an area that you haven't had access to.
Sure,
Correct.
okay.
The 5,000 for the Libby Park water element.
Mm-hmm.
Is that not rolled into the whole Libby Park? The
I think so. I think
playground,
that
right?
we kind of gone around on that on all different
we-
varieties. So yeah, the misters are already in there.
Right,
Oh,
okay.
So
Yeah.
that we can scratch off.
Yeah.
Mm-hmm.
Well, that's good. Done.
The skate park lights, the bike park, obviously are working on it.
Right,
And then the workout shade area, obviously that would be something that would come out of our pool
exactly.
as well.
Yeah,
Yep.
all of those, right.
So,
So hopefully,
is it the 10 grand for the gymnastics equipment that we have tentatively scheduled to come out of the Parks and Rec portion?
Of what's left over, correct, right now? Or what we have? or-
yeah,
Right,
correct,
remember-
So
right.
we were saying 10, what if it comes back and it says we only got 6,000 left to utilize?
Well, that's the discussion.
We'd have
When
a
we get
problem.
that number, we have to go through all this again and
Okay.
make our decisions.
Exactly.
Right,
And then, but that's where things bump and move.
Yeah.
So we know that these are still priorities. We know we can't do it this year. We pick these 3. We move everything up to either the next year
Yeah.
or 4 or 5 years out, depending on what we think
Well,
about
And
it.
I think that, yeah, that's, well,
so hopefully we can have that discussion at the February meeting, we'll
That's
have
gonna-
those
yeah.
figures, and this will all start to make a little bit more sense.
So, okay.
One of the things I had questions on is actually the first line item is the All Parks Master Plan and the rec element. I know we have it on ours for the Parks and Rec as 1920. My question to the commission is, do we want to try to bump that up to sooner? I know we have the Sarazoti Master Plan, but we have, Libby Park projects, we have the new playground, we have Daly Park on here. We've got a discussion item on possibly Soul Park stuff. We have Sarazoti. Do we want to start talking about we have the discussion within the community and at the city council meetings regarding the community pool. There's a whole lot of Parks and Rec discussions
Well, and
going on.
There's a whole lot of planning discussions going on.
Exactly.
Neighborhood
Do we
planning is coming
wanna-
up this Saturday.
Exactly.
I think I'd love to see it bumped up. And I
That's
don't
my
see that
point.
as something that's coming out of overage.
Right.
That's an ask. That's an ask to go on the CIP for funding to come from somewhere.
I agree.
I mean, it could be part of that money that's coming out of the overage, but that isn't an overage, yeah.
Yeah, I feel like we're doing the master planning for Sarazoti. It would be nice if
The whole system.
the whole system was on
Big
one.
picture.
Yeah, I mean, right now it feels like we're kind of piecemealing it together.
Well, so we could move that ambitiously to 16, 17 as an ask.
I would be in favor of that, yes.
Because if you don't get it, you just keep moving it.
Yeah.
I mean,
good.
that's really what this is about. This is
Yeah.
what we would like.
So you're talking about moving it from the PRC
Yeah.
over to the CIP?
No, we can't move anything to the CIP, but what we can do is move it to the PRC and forward that on to council. that This is a
Okay,
really
so
high
we're
priority for us.
16, 17, you're saying?
Yeah.
Okay.
75?
And it also, the element has not been updated for years, so it's not just a planning document.
Exactly.
From that point of view, it's an update to the,
Right.
Yeah.
And
general plan.
Craig,
just feel like we're
the-
flying
your-
blind,
your
kind of.
basic maintenance is not really on the basic maintenance stuff, because we have the ballpark, or the ball field maintenance, but that's a specific project.
Yeah, that's a major leveling project
We're not,
of,
we're not
right.
prioritizing basic maintenance.
No,
here.
sir.
Yeah.
Yeah, anything outside of routine annual maintenance would go on a project like this, yeah. I know.
That's the bone.
How'd we do
that's
with the rains?
softball fields.
How'd we do at the rains this time? Did they, any big
I
ruts in
didn't
them?
see very much runoff off of where we usually.
Since
get,
we got
which
rid of
is,
those humps that
yeah.
was out there?
Yeah, field.
I was there Tuesday and it looked pretty good, actually.
Field one usually is really bad, and
Yeah.
you see a lot of runoff, but they don't look as bad.
And so, another question for you, Craig. So on these years with the CIP, just for instance, 17, 18, the projects that are on there that are already on the CIP, that are with a total cost of 97,500, that's funding, nothing's set because we haven't adopted that, but that's funding you feel relatively secure wherever it's coming from, that it's there?
And I should mention, yeah, that includes the $50,000 that's annually
That
allocated.
does too.
Right.
Okay, so really, we need to rework this and pull the 50,000 out of each of those years so that we're looking at the deficit that we have already on all of those with the projects we're already looking at.
I think that our 5-year CIP planning, I mean, we're so far behind with deferred maintenance throughout the city, including all the rec facilities and roads and buildings and everything, that we're always tight. We're always trying to fiddle. What can we push out a little bit? Where can we come up with money? So one of the revenue sources used to be CDBG.
Right.
And that was roughly 45, I think we were assuming, per year.
Okay.
And then we assumed 50,000 for the rec department. So that's in here. It assumes that, yeah, that it's important to take care of these items.
Okay, I'm sorry, the 50,000 from the rec department.
The 50,000 annually allocated to the recreation
Right.
department is in here. It's assumed.
So
But
it's a
that's-
combination of those two funds. It's the combination so far of what we thought was the CDBG, which is 45,000, and then the 50,000 spent annually on capital improvements for the recreation department.
That's
Right.
allocated to the rec
At
department.
this time, that is the standard practice, is $50,000 a year.
That's what we.
And it also includes other sources. I mean, the AB 939 was a lot of funding for the trash receptacles and all that, and also for the portion of the shelters out at the picnic area.
And is that still in play, or did we use that on the playground?
It was allocated here. It was already used
So-
up. So we,
Is what's allocated here still realistic, or was that instead used toward the Libby playground?
it's still
It's-
reasonable, except for CDBG.
Okay.
But I just don't want you to think there's 50,000 available from the rec department per year. It's already allocated in here.
No, I totally,
Yeah.
I understand. I'm just trying to understand
Oh, yeah,
where the
yeah.
CIP money is coming from and if we feel like this is accurate. But we don't exactly feel like it's accurate, because what we have figured in here for each of these years is 45,000 that's not coming in.
Right.
Okay, that's all I want to clarify. And if we redo, the next time we reprint this, let's reflect our most realistic picture. Just, it's helpful.
Yeah, to a certain extent, I hate to change anything on the CIP, but I think we need some clarification in terms of what the number is that we should be working with.
Thank you. Yeah, that's all,
So,
or note it below so that we
Yeah.
know that each of these
Yeah.
years, or a second line that shows the same total minus 45,000, which will be a deficit of what,
Right.
I mean, or,
Yeah.
where we are. Because that directly relates back to, do you do the
Exactly.
$20,000 repair? Because it's not going to
Exactly.
happen, because there's not 45,000 next year to do these things.
Right.
Or are these things that we should be thinking bigger with this money and longer term?
Right.
And I think there's an assumption on the above, down below, and there was 50,000 that was committed per year, as I understand, to the recreation fund for capital improvements. But there's also, under the reorganization, there seems to be about a $30,000 a year surplus. So I think that's actually an additional item, isn't it, Steve?
You know, that number has moved around a little bit in terms of what the plan was giving each year to recreation, so.
You know, I recall though, looking at that and, all right, so, same thing, we haven't worked on this for close to a year, but that's assumed in here that, because I know I had a discussion with the finance director about what's reasonable, even though this year, or the past fiscal year, it looked like it was more. I think that flushed out to closer to 50 or
So
something.
you're assuming into your calculations the overage?
Yes. That we gonna, with $30,000 of
So any overage
surplus
that we're
operations
looking at-
money is put into
Okay,
here.
so any overage we're looking at is, and I saw the 30,000
Yeah.
fiscal year, but it wasn't totally clear what that was. So what that is that what you bring back beyond expenses in that budget, and then what we are looking at to allocate is anything beyond the 30. Is that correct?
I know what the question is, and I'll get it clarified, because, yeah, it's basically, what is the city saying they're going to put in every year into the
Beyond
Park and
any
Rec
oth-
CIP?
Exactly.
And then what are we saying, or what are we projecting on top of that we think we can budget from the Recreation Department budget?
Okay, thank you.
Right?
Yes.
Okay,
Yeah.
I get it.
Which we know is only an assumption because we don't know till the end of the
Exactly.
fiscal year. And that's what
Right.
we're waiting on right now to hear.
Right.
Okay.
So that assumption on number one, let me clarify that number, because I think I got the 30 confused with the 30
50.
that we were kind of projecting in there,
Right.
and I think it's more like 45 or 50 that was actually going to be coming, but we'll sit down and figure that out, because we'll talk it through with the CDBG and everything too, so that we come up with really we want to give you a solid number for next fiscal year, as well as a number for this year in terms of what we think we can.
But I do recall being tight on that money, and it was, we'd already allocated 50 that the city manager had allocated out for the future. And then we were realizing that surplus operational money was there, close again, to a similar number, 45,000 or so for last year. But the finance director felt uncomfortable projecting that in the future. He didn't know how well
Which
that would
makes
work.
sense. It doesn't.
So we kind of brought
Sure.
it down towards 30 some. So we'll get the finals on that, but I believe it was 30-ish.
And so that's a bit of a change from where we've been, which is that when that money is clearly, when it's clearly determined what that money has been, my understanding is we'd come back here and discuss where that money would go. But what I'm hearing is you have already worked it into your CIP.
Mm-hmm.
So if you've already worked it into your CIP, we're double spending the same amount of money. So we're going to come up short somewhere.
I think so.
So that's a discussion we need to have, because if that's already
We'll look
factored
at it.
into the CIP projects,
I think
It's pretty all over the place after this year, so I understand the what you need though
okay.
going forward.
And you can get that. Have we, one other thing, Greg, have we got in any final cost for the Libby Playground, like a spreadsheet or that we can take a look at on our expenses and stuff?
Is that a update later?
I don't have the information
No, we
yet.
haven't really audited through that, no.
Okay.
Yeah.
Is that part of what's holding up the other money?
It probably is.
All right, I think that's part of what's holding up the final dollar amount on what is left available for 15-16.
I've never actually posed the question that way, so
I don't know that, but I'm asking that
Yeah.
question just because it would seem to me that would be what would hold us up.
Okay.
Well, so I kind of think from my perspective at this point,
It's good to look at.
I would rather have more information before we even mess around with 16,
Yes,
17.
exactly.
Oh,
I think it's an exercise in futility at this point.
Oh, I
If we don't
completely agree.
understand everything more. I think we've had a great discussion, and we have better questions than we did when we started, and then we just keep bringing this back.
Yeah, and I think part
You
of,
need the final dollar.
sorry, I think part of it too was I think you had a request from the commission if they had any other additional projects too that they wanted to throw on there, so we could throw those on there too at this point.
Yeah.
You
That's
think
a
we
good
could
question.
have this information by February's meeting?
Oh, sure. Oh, yeah, in terms of what we're talking about here on the, well, I was hoping to have the information on what we had for our money for this meeting. And in terms of nailing down exactly what we're going to be looking at for 16, 17 to spend, yeah, we can definitely.
Because this also comes back to our joint meeting with council. I think that's part of what's driving the immediacy and the desire to get it done
Right,
sooner
Dan.
than later. That was
Exactly.
somewhat of a directive out of that meeting is,
Correct.
you know, you've got money, get it together, get your list, tell us what you need and what you want.
Right.
You know, not that that's the decision, but to give them the recommendations as quickly as we can so we can move.
Yeah.
Do you know when your joint meeting is?
No, we
this
had a
is
joint meeting.
Oh,
Out of that
August.
joint meeting
It's
came
usually
a
in August.
directive at the end of that as, you know, if you know what you want to do and you know what the projects are, let's do it. And so and we've been ready, we're just waiting for what that number is.
Yeah.
As far as adding things to this list, or maybe modifying them a little bit, there's already outdoor basketball court. If we could change that to basketball and futsal.
Court.
I don't know if they're the same. That's kind of a master plan thing. But,
Again, yeah.
you know, I know once we get that master plan, we're going to add other things to here. But from what I've heard, it seems like that's kind of a nearer term priority.
It does seem to be something that's a pressing issue.
Mhm.
Yeah.
It's coming.
Been there
It's
last
yeah.
year.
Yeah.
Okay, so it's futsal. Sorzodi futsal court is what you want to put on there.
Yeah, and it might be a combination, like a multi-use court.
It is a hard court version, almost like soccer, but it's really fast, and you play on the court. That's like they've sometimes try and play it on the tennis courts.
Indoor
It's like
soccer.
a fast
Yeah.
version of soccer,
It's like an indoor soccer, but played.
but outdoors.
So, and that would be a combination then.
Well, that's your
Potentially, it could be. Yeah, that was a question we had for the.
That would get them
designers.
off the tennis courts down here that they're.
Yeah,
they've
so
been
it
using.
might be separate courts. It might be the same courts.
Yeah.
I don't know. But
So for this, should we just add to the list futsal court?
yeah, I think so.
Okay.
Okay.
Yeah.
And then at some point, we'll be able to put an expense on that
Right.
after the master plan, hopefully.
Yeah.
At least a rough estimate. Okay, I'm it's a good
Yeah.
discussion.
Yeah.
Anybody else?
Nope.
Good.
Not me.
All right. Thank you, guys. All right. Moving on. 8C is the Soul Park operations.
I know it was emailed out, but I'll go ahead and put a hard copy out to everybody as well, since it came out supplemental. We did get responses back from Soul Park. They pretty much took our questions, I think, one by one and answered them through there.
That would be the county?
Correct, right. So I'll go through this kind of very briefly in a limited way, just for the benefit of the public here. So one of the questions was it cost annually to operate Soul Park? And just to clarify, we're not talking about, this does not include the golf course. This is just the park portion, what is actually considered to be Soul Park, so it doesn't include any of the golf course. So what does it cost annually to operate the park, including gross operating costs, revenues, et cetera? And they provided a spreadsheet for that. And for the most recent year, for 14-15, they took in $49,000 in revenues, and they had $192,000 in total expenses. So they ran at a net loss of $143,000 on the operating side in 14-15. They also provided an average from fiscal year 08-09 through fiscal year 14-15. The revenue is pretty similar to what they had for 14-15. The average for that time period was $46,000, and the average gross operating cost was $163,000, with an average net annual loss of about $117,000. So they are losing money with the operations of the park. Next question is, would the county have any desire to sell, lease, or allow joint use of the facility? Or does the county have any position on that? They indicated that the county wishes to continue the operations of the park. However, they're willing to discuss possible joint uses or partnerships. So they sound like they have some willingness there. Next, we asked if there was a restriction on playing hardball in the park, softball, baseball, t-ball. And they have a requirement from the Parks Department that they only allow softball in their parks. So they don't allow hardball, baseball in the county-run parks.
Is that at any of their parks? What about Toland and all those that allow it?
It's
Is
a
that
county park.
That's a county
In
park.
any county-run parks, yeah.
It is a county-run park that they have hardball in. Out
I
towards
wonder if they have a
Fillmore.
relationship or
Yeah.
I don't know.
joint use or with some other organization.
I'm not sure. That Toland Park is a little different there.
Yeah.
I know a little bit of history on that, but I'm not sure what's been going on with that over the last 10 years. Anyways, asked if they had any plans to upgrade or remodel the park. They indicated that they just completed a number of upgrades: asphalt dog park, paddleball courts, shelter upgrades. Sound familiar? Barbecue refurbishments, lighting upgrades, name a few. With one major project still in the works, they're in the final stages of main water line replacement. Also did 2 restroom upgrades, bring them into ADA compliance. All sounds very familiar, doesn't it? In addition, new playground equipment, sidewalks, and other upgrades over the past few years. And in 16-17, they're scheduled to do a slurry and striping and plans for a basketball court. Total acreage of the park portion, they indicated it's about 23 acres. We asked if the parkland has any use or deed restrictions upon it. They said yes, the park must be used solely and exclusively for public park or recreation purposes. And lands can't be used for any vending or sales purposes, and any change would have to be approved by the grantor. I don't think that's probably an issue for us, since I think we're wondering mainly in the recreation aspects. Does the park have an adopted master plan? In 1978, the county prepared a draft recreation element for the general plan that classified Soul Park as a recreation park. The recreation element was not adopted, but the recommendations were developed. So, well, I guess that's better than having a plan that
That you didn't, that's
you
right.
didn't do anything with. So, can you think of anything else that would be pertinent to the discussion? They noted that their traffic count through the gate is over 100 vehicles per day. So, thank you to Ron Van Dyke at the county for getting back to us on that. Any further questions or any clarifications? They were very eager if we had any further questions to certainly be of assistance, and they were also were curious just how the discussion would come out tonight, and so I let them know that I'd be passing it along, but really this was just a discussion at this point.
I think it's wonderful that they're willing to discuss possible joint use and partnerships.
I think we
look
continue to
at that
engage,
and.
I think we continue to engage them in that.
Yeah,
Yeah, I agree.
Yeah, it seems like if we have, as we start talking about a bigger plan, if there are things that we don't have room for.
Right.
This is an,
and that's happened. The
Totally.
dog park is there because a
Right.
group of people went there. The Paddle Tennis Association went
Right.
in with an idea, and I really applaud the county for embracing those things, and it's really nice that they've been open to that.
Yeah.
And the improvements are really nice. The new playground in the back.
Mm-hmm.
I think it's important to note that. I think those numbers they say per year are operating, it's not the capital. They're putting a lot of money into
Yeah, well,
really maintaining that.
Correct.
facility, which
A
are not
lot
shown
more
here.
than
There's
that.
a lot of-
That's
Yeah, that's a
just
good point,
operating.
Mr. Grant.
Yeah.
Right. That's just their
Because
operating.
that playground, that was
In other words,
really nice. They've
hold
done a
your
lot of really
horses,
nice
I
things
got-
in there.
Yeah,
Yeah.
a lot of money.
But I think that and they're open to the opportunity of joint use and partnerships, I think we should really explore how that might work.
I agree. I think we should definitely look at using this park to our advantage
Yes.
more frequently now.
Helping expand capacity in the places where we have programming constraints.
Exactly. Where we talked about softball or whatnot, a couple months ago, we talked about softball. Or the Frisbee golf we discussed, and, little things like that.
It's a perfect location for that.
Oh, yeah, it's great. But I think some of those programs we should definitely
I agree.
look into.
Look at opportunities.
I agree.
Yeah.
Whose responsibility is it for the bike path? I mean, is that,
County.
just depends on where it is, or is that a?
It's all county.
Isn't it
It's-
multiple
it's all
agencies
county?
working together?
It's kind of mixed. It's really mostly county, but the city's responsible for.
Well, that comes into the city part, but
Well, I mean, actually, a lot of it's still county that comes through, but it's basically from Fox Street to the east. So it's a very small portion, but we're responsible for
But
that.
isn't there also
Because it's been
planning?
mentioned to me the possibility of connecting the bike path to Seoul,
Mm-hmm.
which would be, I think, huge.
yeah.
We've
So
asked them
nice.
about that, especially utilizing the golf course bridge before, and they're not, the golfers in general, it's been brought up before, are not supportive of the whole golf community, but that's certainly the easy way. I mean, the other route people looked at is, how that's that dead trail from
Yeah.
that point all the way out to Ojai Avenue, and the bridge was made a little bit wider for future accommodations, so you could go out along Ojai Avenue and go back down.
Quite wide enough.
But that's a long way away.
Yeah.
Yeah, the one going across the golf bridge would be terrific, and that's what some people have pushed for. In our Complete Streets Group committee, they've really looked at that, and
And like about 10
That'd be
years ago,
great.
there was a planning group together that was working on the extension there, I think. And that was this is a while ago, but I think that was county, city, there were a variety of different people represented in the planning for that portion. Because isn't there an organizational kind of committee that works on some of these things that includes multiple the municipalities as well as the county and transfer? No?
not
Okay,
really.
all right.
There's a group that just got into wayfinding for bike trails, and that was VCTC just got a bunch of It's a huge amount of money they're spending to try to standardize bike paths all around the county and have a standardized map and all that.
Interesting.
So they're working on that, and they were looking for input on that as well as to where we might want to connect.
So that might be a good place to go.
So Complete Streets was just saying that we were going to respond that we'd really like to see that path connected across the
Do the same from our commission?
more
That would be an
direct.
amazing, start and end location,
Yeah.
for all the bikes.
To ever build a bridge, anything. In fact, I spoke to Teresa Lubin, who's the county manager for the Parks Department, and she was saying they looked at doing a grant just like they did down where the bike bridge now
right.
crosses down San Antonio.
Oh, yeah.
And that one qualified. There was a huge amount of work they were saying to get that approved. I think it was in the range of $500,000. But this one up here didn't have the ridership. Down there's a lot of people riding it, but up here at the dead end, they didn't expect that much, so it appeared to be much more difficult. They didn't feel they had a chance to achieve the grant anyways.
But that's interesting if Complete Streets is talking to VCTC, it might be useful for the rec commission to,
And we're just providing simple input. It was, basically we were looking at a couple options on it. There's a VCTC, if you go to the website, they request input on it.
right,
And
but that might be interesting from our commission, as the Recreation and Parks Commission, to just make a request that same, basically it's from two different places
Mhm.
with two different
Right.
goals
Mhm. Absolutely.
or missions that would,
Yeah.
that might be worthwhile. I don't know how we do that exactly, but.
Mhm.
Yeah, how would we do that? It seems like, I agree.
As a commission.
Yeah,
Yeah, all we do is make recommendations, so.
right. Write a letter and sign it, right?
Which you could make a recommendation to the council to
To make that recommendation?
Yeah.
Okay,
whatever that action is, yeah.
okay, do we need to, we would have to agendize that ahead of time, or no?
Yeah, I would recommend,
So
yeah.
for future agenda items,
Right,
okay.
right. Yeah,
I
don't
should
think we
mention
take
that
it tonight.
input deadline for that wayfinding one is January 26th, I think it is. And they really just sent out the notifications. So I think they kind of had a 1-month window. So that was,
Okay, there's
that-
another.
that's regarding the wayfinding. I mean, it's almost input to the county too separately, but, because this is VCTC to try to pull, while they're getting all this wayfinding input, they're trying to get any other input. If you were trying to make better connections, for instance, from Ojai over to Miners Oaks or to Miramate and stuff
So
like that.
so Complete Streets is putting that all in, but I think it'd be useful to have that come not only as a transportation idea, but as a community recreation, from the rec commission.
We could put that in, when we put our input to VCTC, we could say basically for the Complete Streets Committee
Yeah, just
and the
add-
Parks and Rec
yeah.
Commission, because they're really not getting, it's,
I understand it's not
very
that
far.
formal,
Yeah,
but
but
just
it's,
collecting information, but I think it's more powerful when it comes from
yeah.
multiple sources
not
within,
backing you.
not
real-
just a
the real direct
special-
way. It's kind of, the more the word gets out, the better. I mean, the real thing is to ever be able to convince the county to allow the use of that golf
Right,
bridge.
and this is the
That's-
kind of thing where if we're starting to come together with multiple entities within our city, saying this is something we really need, that might be helpful. So if we could do that, I think that would be great.
So I'll make sure that I put that in as far as the simple input to VCTC.
Great.
And then if there's more opportunity for us to weigh in, as a commission, let us know
Yeah, later on,
and get it on our agenda, because,
down the road.
Yeah.
Yeah, that's almost like a full political push somehow with the county. That's like a whole other realm. I know Councilman Wyrick was at a Complete Streets Committee meeting, and he was super supportive of that idea and really thought it would be something that would be great. So,
I read the Complete Street stuff, and I realize there's a lot of overlap with recreation, because when you're doing connectivity in any way with bicycles and access to public facilities, it's a recreation issue. And so I do think that if there, it would be helpful to, recognize that here, if it helps support what they're trying to do.
right? Yeah.
Because they even talk about it in their meetings, which I think is great, and I think it is all very relevant, but we never actually talk about it here.
Great. Thanks for reaching out to them, Steve.
Yeah.
Yeah, thank you.
As a follow-up suggestion, we could set up a meeting with the park director there. I don't know if a member of the commission would want to maybe sit in on that, and be happy to
That'd be
set
great.
something up, just to have an exploratory and hi-hello conversation, and
Great idea.
Yeah.
at least get an idea of what might be out there and possible.
Mhm.
So I'd be happy to set that up. Is anybody on the commission who'd like to join me in that, or a couple commissioners, or?
Yeah, I would.
Okay,
I'm happy to, if
okay.
no one else wants to.
Well, you guys are technically the facilities committee
I know, I was
still,
gonna say, I
so-
think maybe it's under our little,
So we could,
we've already got that set up. We don't even need a new committee.
still kind of fits under that, so, okay.
It's a standing committee.
So great.
Perfect. Well, I'm excited about the
Yeah.
opportunities out there. I think it'd be great. And even more excited about possibly connecting the bike path all the way there.
I don't want to give anybody's hope up on that, but
I-
I think it's good to get the message out there, and it's true, the more you keep circulating that message, and who
Yeah.
knows, the right people might make it happen.
Great.
Supervisor Bennett's up for election, isn't he, next year, maybe?
Exactly. We want to bend his ear a little bit. Great, thanks. Moving on, number 9, staff reports. So Sarasota master plan.
So I think everybody knows the workshop meeting is set for January 25th, 6:30 PM here at City Hall. We put the information on the Facebook. We're really going to start the big push on the advertisement starting next week. Allison has been out this week. She'll be in tomorrow. So we're going to work on ad and for the paper and various other things to really push it out there and get it out there. We're going to do e-blasts through the recreation email lists and make sure that we continue to pump it on the Facebook and web pages, both city page and the recreation page.
Maybe Maya can help us
Sure.
at school, if
Yeah, I
there's
could
ways to get
def-
maybe in the new, well, it's probably too late for the newspaper.
I could get in the bulletin though.
Bulletin would be great.
Great.
There we go.
Okay.
Maybe, and it also, maybe if we could get the civics classes, if they could announce it, I don't know if they need to ever go for government to meetings.
Yeah, I can talk to my
Yeah.
teachers about that.
Yeah, see if they're looking to give extra credit, it's a possible way to come to a night meeting and, if you're willing.
Exactly.
Yeah, definitely.
Thanks, Maya.
That'd be great.
Super. So, we're gearing up for that, and not sure that I have anything additional to report at this point.
Great. Libby Park Playground?
Greg, any update on Libby Park, just in terms of anything there or any
I
change
think we had
in
a few,
schedule?
well, maybe in general that,
Hold
you
up
know, all
during
the, I guess the stone benches, most people are aware of those, did a final placement on those. And then we had just finalized all the input on the donor plaques and so on. We had that final push also, we did some final advertisements, and I think we had some pretty good additional funds that came in for that. So I think the total funds right now are about $40,000 right there, donations, which was our goal. It's terrific, yeah. And then, we had the final naming and all that for the plaques. So we've got the final names for all the plaques and also for all of the bricks. So the actual site work, as far as the site in general, though, it's holding up very well. And we had our issues with the turf hill that I think everybody knows about, but it seems like it's holding up well. And final work, we really had planned to do. I mean, you might have noticed too, we put the fence, I forget if everybody saw the post and rail fence around the turf hill. And so the final work to go will be the misters, which are going to be in this, when the heat kicks up next year. And we did finalize, we had to move some foundation bolts around a little bit on some of the shade structures, so we didn't get those final dimensions. We were waiting. We're ready to do that right now, so we're going to give the final dimensions to the shade people, make sure they're ready for the roughly the May when the first heat comes up. And then the brick path to actually construct it, I don't think it's going to work in El Nino wetness, so we'll probably make sure they're all ordered, get them here, and as soon as we are done with the rains, we feel like it's solid. We might, I just don't think we're going to see an extended period of dryness that would be good to get in the middle of that construction.
It's gonna take a little time too.
Yeah.
Still need to compile the orders and get that filled, and there's a little bit left to do, so.
Right. So
The art project.
I'm sorry, the art, that's a substantial one. And I know the artist had not received he's ordered this stainless steel sphere from China, and it was supposed to be coming in real soon. And once that comes in, he was going to arrange the crane and do one shot of dropping everything in. So I think that's the one piece he's waiting for. Everything else is ready.
Probably not gonna wanna do it in the rain either.
Yeah, yeah. His, if we, like next week looks pretty clear. If there's a period like that occurs, he can drop everything pretty quickly, right? Because
okay.
most of his stuff, so we'll see how that goes. I think we'll be able to find a slot and get it in. It depends on how, usually I don't know, last El Nino, I remember 98, that was really wet through February and March. So yeah, we might not be able to do it then.
Okay. How did it hold up over the last couple days of the rain?
It doesn't, surprisingly, we've done really well. I know I was just checking my rain gauge in my house, which I'm down Creek Road a ways, but I thought somebody dumped it, but it was topped off at 5 inches. But I've seen numbers jumping around the valley here, sort of 3+ to
3.5, yeah.
Yeah.
5+, yeah. Yeah, didn't they get 3.5 at Lake Casitas, and then Matilla Dam usually gets quite a bit more, but it wasn't too much more. It was like,
There hasn't
Not
been a
this
lot of
time,
runoff yet.
Yeah.
yeah,
So, but the playground held up all right?
yeah, seems like we're doing good there, yeah.
The curbing is all in place and the
Yeah, exactly.
surfacing stayed where it was supposed to.
Yeah.
Ojai, from what I've talked to other people, Ojai's done pretty well through this. Ventura was not so lucky. We had a lot of damage down at Ventura at the hospital.
Oh, no.
Different things that went on down there. So it was a lot more rain. There was something, everybody was, on some of those new apartment buildings on Thompson, they had those subterranean parking, the cars were in water
Yeah.
and stuff. So it was really, just a,
Yeah, it was flushing everything out, that's for sure.
yeah. But I think Ojai fared pretty well.
All right, Lower Libby tennis courts.
So the direction to staff on that was to try to reach out to the individuals that had been using the basketball courts, the tennis courts, excuse me, for the basketball activities. We have not been successful in reaching them. I know.
Futsal people.
Futsal.
I'm sorry.
No,
however
you
want to
said
describe
basketball.
them.
I just want to make sure we were clear. Just
I'm
for the
sorry.
record. The people playing soccer on the tennis courts.
Thank you.
Okay.
I strike on batting 1,000 here. Yes, the tennis courts at Lower Libby that were being used by folks who were playing soccer. Yes, we've not been able to reach them, and again, our goal was to try to speak with them to see if there were some other options or other facilities or other ways that we might be able to accommodate their recreation needs. We're sure more than willing to meet with them. So if anybody knows anybody in that group. We did have some leads, and we did pursue those very aggressively, and we were not able to get a response back, including even to one gentleman who had contacted us on Facebook a while back that we had responded to, and not getting any luck there. So as it stands, I don't really know that we can do anything further at this point. But we suspect that we might possibly see this activity again when the days start getting longer and the days start getting warmer. So we'll certainly be ready for that. So if anybody's hearing of any activity out there or knows those individuals, we would love to talk with them, not to get into a confrontation, but we want to find out what it is, what their needs are, and maybe see if there are some other options that we might be able to accommodate that.
Okay. Thanks. Bike park proposal.
On the bike park, so I did put out a very detailed list of items to the bike park group that we still need to address before we can take something to city council. I still have not, we still have not been able to set that meeting, but they have agreed to meet. I actually got a fair amount of resistance to the request, and they basically stated, no, I think we're ready to go and take it to city council. I said, I'm sorry, I need to be able to meet with you to have an idea what the budget is and how are you going to maintain it, and to get into the weeds about, fencing and egress and all that. So a little frustrated, but I think we're back on the same page again, and they have agreed to meet with us. So
And you're just scheduling that meeting?
I'm
trying to.
Oh, to schedule the meeting? Yeah, we were trying to schedule it for either this Friday or next Wednesday.
And is Ryan going to be there?
Be happy to invite you.
Ryan, are you gonna be
Be
there?
good, because then you'll see the full
Yeah,
process.
I won't be around next Wednesday, but I would be here this Friday. Yeah, I'd be here this Friday.
Okay, well, I
Yeah.
don't think we're meeting tomorrow at 9 a.m., so.
Sorry, what were the days?
We're
you
trying
thinking?
for next Wednesday.
Next Wednesday,
so.
yeah, I wouldn't be here, but keep me
Okay.
posted. And
Okay.
If it's another day, I'll come.
But
You got
throw you in the loop on all those meetings and all
Yeah.
that stuff.
Sure,
think
yeah,
I'm-
didn't even think about it, I apologize,
Okay.
so.
Mhm.
Okay.
All right, thank you. Spring activity guide.
Okay, let's hit it. So our opening weekend of youth basketball is coming up this Saturday. So we'll have 38 teams competing, 38 teams, 2nd through 8th grade. And then we have 33 participants in our K through first grade clinic. So that clinic starts bright and early at 8 a.m. at Sarasota Park, those kindergarten through first grade. So they go from 8 to 9. And then we have games throughout the entire day, both at Sarasota Park gym and Matilaha's gym. All those schedules are online. So if you wanted to catch some games, you could either go over to Matilaha or come over to Sarasota. But that kindergarten through first grade clinic, like I said, starts at 8 a.m. We have 3, almost to the player. In 2015, we had 300 registered players, and this year we have we had 318. This year we have 317. So it's pretty interesting. The only division that we weren't able to get enough participants in were the 8th and 9th grade. Well, not 8th and 9th grade. We don't have 9th grade. The 7th and 8th grade girls division. There wasn't enough interest. We only actually had 4 registered. So yeah.
That's something interesting for next year to maybe go to Matilaha. I only because some of them are playing at school. And then they're more trying out sometimes than make it.
Yeah.
So it's just an interesting idea.
Yeah, I mean, there's plenty of the teams in the boys division.
Yeah,
But
no,
just for some reason, we just don't seem to pull those numbers, and it kind of always been that way.
Yeah, no, it's just a thought to maybe go to like
Yeah.
the PE classes and engage the girls.
Yeah, I guess for future.
Yeah, for next year.
Sure.
I know it is a hard age group that starts to fall off.
Yeah, and we're hoping too that we did go to the blind draft this year, and we're hoping that will produce the kind of results that we want to see, which are close games. So we're hoping every game will be within 2 or 4 points. That's no blowouts. So we'll see how that goes this Saturday. We have a movie night coming up this January. You'll see in your activity guide on page 13. Our first parent night out movie will be Tangled on January 22nd. So again, as always, parents can drop off at 6 p.m., pick up at 9 p.m., all for $10. They get movie, pizza, popcorn. So those movies have been going really well, and you can see the others that we have on the docket through April. But January 22nd, that's Friday, $10 per child, 5 and older. Teen programs you'll see on page 12. So our first one will be Six Flags Magic Mountain. That'll be February 6th. So again, hoping to get some assistance maybe from our youth commissioner and get the word out. That could potentially be another bulletin item if that's possible, if you can get that in there over at Nordhoff.
Would you be comfortable contacting Matilaha
Yeah, I
with
have.
this same information?
I have a little sister who works
Perfect.
there, so
Great.
That would be great. Yeah.
Yeah.
Thank
and
you.
then-
yeah.
But we'll do, of course, promotion through our own website and Facebook page, but it'd be nice to have your connections.
Yeah,
with
and
high school and junior high.
Matilaha has a student like a leadership class.
Yeah.
So we could potentially take up to 30 kids on that with our 15 passenger vans. So we're hoping to reach capacity for those trips. Few other items here. We're also accepting registration for our spring five-a-side program. That's we're partnered with ASO for that program, but even though basketball season is just starting up, we're available to take registration for soccer. We talked last week about getting this activity guide hyperlinked to our online registration site, and that is in process now. So we got the software for it. We have staff working on.
Excellent.
It's pretty time consuming, but we figure by Wednesday of next week, a person can, we'll have to, enter that activity guide with all those hyperlinks on there, and then someone could be looking at the activity guide, see the activity they want, click it, and it'll take it right,
That is a
hyperlink them right
huge
into
step.
it.
That is
Yes.
so nice.
It's going to be awesome
It
to
is.
have that available.
Yeah.
On top of the fact that now there is no additional online convenience fee that they have to pay. And I'll add about the online convenience fee, Steve and Christie worked on getting it dropping it 1%. So now it is at 5.5%, whether you pay in office with credit card or you go online with credit card, the cost to us is 5.5%. It's equal
That's
either
great.
way.
Good
So,
job.
Well done.
yeah, so that was a really nice.
You don't ask, you don't get.
That's
Yeah.
right.
Sometimes you get.
Yeah, that was a nice little perk. We're also going to discuss in our next staff meeting of the possibility of mailing the activity guide. We reached out to about 6 or 7 other cities in the area, and they all mailed their activity guide out.
We did it for years. I mean,
yeah.
yeah.
What one city is going with just doing though strictly on. It's the first year they're doing it. I don't have it right in front of me, but they're going to go just online.
oh, completely.
They had been mailing it, and now they're just going to go completely online, which is interesting. I would think they'd want to keep some hard copies in their.
I don't think we're
in
there
their
yet.
Office at least. I don't think we are either. But most cities, or all the cities that responded to our question about do you mail or do you have other avenues of getting your information out, it was all mailing. So we kind of have always done it through the schools, but I think we're highly considering.
There was
going with
a
mail.
time when they were mailed here.
Not since I mean.
It was a while ago, a long
yeah,
time ago,
so
but didn't they-
It'll be 13 years for me in March, and since I've been here, it's always been through,
Okay.
at least for the past 13 years, it's been through the school
So they
system.
never, I thought
Yeah.
they used to mail them. Okay.
No.
All right.
At request, I think. we
Oh, so
did.
some people got them, but it wasn't a.
Yeah,
a
someone would
cross.
call and
Okay.
we'd agreed to mail it, but we don't.
I think
stop
I
doing
think it's
that.
a great idea. And I think especially because with Facebook and with doing the postcards and a single sheet to the schools, you're going to cover so
Yeah.
many more people. Because I still think it's important to do things at the schools because we have some kids that aren't in our area
Mhm.
but still participate here. But the majority of people getting it home.
So we're going to do some cost analysis, obviously, to see, okay, well, how many are we going to mail to? Is it going to be valley-wide, school district-wide, which I think the last time we had a conversation about this, we thought it would be wise to obviously hit Miramonte, Miners Oaks, anyone in the 93023. And that doesn't mean we'd exclude necessarily the Oakview. We could still bring hard copy activity
To them,
guides
yeah.
to them potentially, but mail to all the rest in 93023. So, but it's just going to come down to how much is it going to all cost to
Yeah.
do that
Yeah.
compared to doing a postcard. And
Right.
Just we do the postcard mailing, see what the kind of cost difference is going to be.
It'll be interesting to see.
Yeah. Any other activity? I think that's about it as far as activity guide and programming updates go. Do you guys have any questions? The other one other thing, the other upside to getting this hyperlink and software that we have, we can also now do fillable forms. So
Nice.
once we get that, the facility application fee and registration fee, they'll all be fillable forms too, for those people who don't register online. But of course, we're pushing for online registration now.
And the easier you make it, the
Yeah.
more people will do it. I think that's great.
Yeah. Well, and eventually we'll be able to get some sort of a analysis from ActiveNet to see
Right.
the increase, how much increase we've seen. As I told you, in the past, we were at 18% of all registrations were online. I imagine it'll be significantly more now that we're trying to make all these pushes to go online to register.
Yeah, let's hope so.
Yeah.
And you're pushing all this through, I'm not on Facebook, so I don't know, but you're highlighting some of this, once it goes
Oh.
hyperlink and all that happens, so you can
Yeah.
post the link to the new,
Well, yeah, on
the
the
new,
Facebook
the new
page,
live
and,
guide with, yeah.
Yes, the live guide with hyperlinks on every activity. It's going to be so nice.
One click.
One click.
Well
and
done.
There.
I think it's excellent.
Yeah.
Yeah, it's great.
Yeah. So that's it on activity updates. If you have any questions.
Anybody questions? Great. Thanks, Saf. The budget update.
Just a little bit of information. So revenue-wise, so in 2015, between July and to now, through December, basically, we were at 267. And in 2016, we're at 257. But we're always 2 weeks behind as far as getting active net checks, so credit card payments and things of that sort. We're basically on pace with last year, bottom line. And just expense, same time frame, July to December, we were at 380 total expense, not just programming, but staffing and everything. We were at 387.61, and right now we're at 364.459, keeping in mind that we're payroll and all that isn't all accounted for yet through December. So, but again, still exactly on pace where we were last year with expense as well. So I'll just remind you, just when we were talking about that final number, just revenue last year, we did hit the highest plateau I can recall, 521,000, almost 522,000 in revenue last fiscal year.
Right.
So, and we're on pace to get right about there again.
That's even better news.
Yes. Does
Great.
not include that 370, whatever you want to call it, subsidy.
Support.
Yeah, support.
Yes.
And most of your
Subsidy's not the word.
registration fees have been held pretty much the same last year to this year, or
Yeah, yes.
bump anything up?
No, I mean, there might be a $5 increase here or there, but for example, the basketball registration was the same.
Big programs all
Same.
stay the same.
Yes, 5-a-side is the same as it was last fiscal year, and basketball was the same. Gymnastics hasn't seen an increase, so those big programs. Tennis did see an increase, but small. Small increase.
Great.
That's it.
Any other questions? No. Thank you. Good news.
Yeah.
Any other information? Mr. McCleary?
Not for me, thank you.
All right. Anybody have any commissioner reports, comments?
I do.
Shoot.
I attended the first Libby Bowl management meeting. What are we calling that committee? Libby Bowl committee, the Libby Bowl committee meeting. And I was there for the first one, where it's a relatively diverse group of people who've gotten together from the community, the bowl, some people from the industry, some people who've used the bowl. So it's and I was representing. I am a resident of Ojai, but I also was there as a representative of the Parks Commission. And out of the first meeting, there was we really looked at goals, and then things that might be issues that would come up with management, with what's happened and what will be in the future happening and where things are going. And so that was interesting. People threw their stuff up there and did some prioritization. And I think the biggest thing I would say came out of the first meeting was a realization that there wasn't time to get this done well and to get everything figured out and move forward right now. So there was really an acknowledgement that the 16 season, the commercial season, is not something that was going to happen it doesn't mean anything will change, all of the regular events, and people can still come and use it, but the idea of moving forward with a commercial season was kind of off the table. So I think that was all very, lots of progress was made there, and everyone was very interested in moving forward with looking at how to best manage the bowl, what the issues are, how to identify them, what the goals are, for the community. Anyway, I thought it was a great meeting. Sadly, they just had another meeting. I couldn't make it, sick kids at home. But there will be a public, is there a date for that?
Yes, Tuesday, January 19th at, I want to say 6 PM
So,
here at Ojai City Hall in the council chambers. And that will be a special city council meeting to take input from the public.
is it more of a
Correct,
town hall kind of style thing?
Or no, I'm sorry, I
it's like a-
misspoke. It's not a council meeting. It's a more of an informal town hall meeting where people can come and give input.
Come and give their input
Right.
and their concerns, their goals, what they want to see happen. It should be good. So hopefully, lots of people will make it out and weigh in on what they're interested in seeing happen.
Yeah,
So
so-
I am on that committee. If you guys have discussion or anything you want to tell me or any guidance that you want to, I'd love to hear it. As far as it impacts the physical plan of the park is something that I am interested in seeing from a programming standpoint, how often it's there, is there going to be a season, is there not going to be a season, because historically we've had a season. Just lots of questions like that, days of the week, just really operational kind of stuff. And then from my perspective, things, for instance, like the community band in the summer, band in the park. Really working with looking at all the different things that happen there that are important to us and making sure that that everything's compatible. So if there are anybody has other comments, but anyway, Mayor Blatz is there and in charge of this, so, or helping facilitate it with the city manager, and I think it's good. I'm sorry I missed the last one.
No, it's good, and thank you for being our representative there.
Oh, and then the other thing is the Libby Playground fundraising. Big thanks to Mac Wojowski, who's been pushing that ahead and keeping on top of it and getting it all done. And he and Greg have been working together to get those finalized lists for the plaques. And we are working on getting all of the information together for ordering the bricks, which is going to take a little time. It's just a lot of data to enter and get done. But it's all on track and it's going. So if anybody has questions, feel free to send an email or a call. But Mac's been working really hard, so I just wanted to thank him for all the effort and
Yeah.
sticking with it.
Over the months.
Yes. Okay,
Great.
that's it.
Thank you. Anybody else? All right. City Council Liaison. I think we have Mayor Blatz.
Do you want to talk about assignments?
Good evening, everybody. Thank you for doing the job you do. It's always a pleasure being the liaison to the Park and Recreations Commission, so I look forward to it for the next 2 months. I was going to give you a report on the Libby Bowl Committee. Sage did a great job. We did have a second meeting last week, and then we have another meeting on the 13th at 3 o'clock in the afternoon where the full committee will meet in preparation for the town hall meeting on the 19th. And what we're really doing is, as Sage well explained, trying to formulate ideas about the bowl, how it can best be utilized, how we're going to handle traffic, whether we want a bowl manager, an exclusive contract with a bowl manager, or a semi-exclusive contract with a promotion individual, such as what Lance Sterling had proposed. And we want to get some input from the public before we ultimately make the decision. So that's kind of where we are. And it was a good meeting, and the second one was equally as good, which is kind of rewarding because even though there hasn't been this many people at the meeting, I believe the committee has 19 people on it. A committee of 19 is pretty unruly some of the time. But I think we probably had about the same number at the second meeting as we had at the first, and I would say 75% of them were the same at the first or the second. So hopefully we'll be able to come up with a better program, obviously a better program than what we've had at the Libby Bowl over the last few years. But hopefully we'll come up with what the council can agree on with regard to what we're going to do in the future. As you know, it came to us, and there was a difference of opinion as to whether we should move forward to save or not really save, but move forward now, so we would have a 2016 season. And it was 4-1, me being the one, that decided they wanted to put the brakes on a little bit and slow down and take a little closer look at it. So that's what we're doing, and I think, and I'm a firm believer that when you have a group of 4 individuals that decide one thing ought to be done, then that's probably the best thing to do. So I think we're going to end up better off than we would have been if we moved ahead with the contract as it was before us. Other than that, I really don't have anything specific for you unless you have some questions for me. We get back into the saddle next Tuesday night. We had a couple meetings in December and November that were canceled. So we're looking forward to bringing some things, some of the hot issues that are going to be coming before us right away are the short-term vacation rentals. That's going to be a hot topic. It has been for 2 or 3 meetings. And believe it or not, the community is split almost right down the middle on it. And that's always difficult when you have exactly the same number of people on each side of an issue. How do you make that decision? But that's what we're there for, is to do that. Things like leaf blowers are going to be coming back in front of us in the near future. Can't think of the other ones that I've seen on the agenda, but there's a number of different things that are going to be coming before us. And they're all important things for our community, so pay attention to the agendas, and just because you're on the commission doesn't mean you can't come to a council meeting and give us some input as a private citizen. We really do welcome all the input we can get. And as I tell people at the meetings, we can't do our job without input from the public. And that's the only way we can really be advised and have the information that we need to be able to do our jobs. Because I know, for one, I don't have all the answers. I really don't make up my mind on any decision that's coming before us till I have all the public input before me, because it's very important that you have all that information. And it's the same thing in, the commissions. I was on the planning commission for 10 years, and same thing there. Although on the commissions, you're operating within a little bit more of a box because you're recommending rather than making decisions. But I appreciate all the work you do. Anybody have any questions about anything? It's always nice to see Sophocles.
Oh.
We go back a long way, all back to Ojai Valley School, and 30 years or more. It's hard to believe, isn't it? Where did the time go?
Did you know him when he had hair?
I don't remember. Of course, that was so long ago, I don't even know whether I had hair back then. Although I have seen some pictures, and I did have some hair, but I don't remember.
Yeah, well, right. We talk ping pong still these days, because back in the day, back at Ojai Valley School, your son and I, we had some epic battles on the ping pong table. Those are good memories.
Yeah, they were. Anybody have anything?
Well, will you make a plug for, isn't it this Saturday at 9, the neighborhood planning?
Yep, neighborhood planning.
You might have been going to do that, Steve. I just want to make sure.
Neighborhood planning this Saturday from 9 to 12 at Sarasate. And I hope that a lot of people will come out for that. We need public input for that as well.
Now, that's the second meeting on this, right?
Mm-hmm.
Okay.
Yep.
Could I just jump in one moment
Yeah.
now? And a notice was sent out to the commissioners too, just so that you know that is actually is being noticed or has been noticed as a joint meeting. So you can all come and participate. You don't need to worry about, am I going to run into a Brown Act conflict? Can there only be 1 or 2 of us there? So you may all show up and participate if you want to. You're covered.
Thank you.
Thanks.
And that affects all of us, every commission and the council. It affects our entire community when you start talking about neighborhood planning. So I hope to see you there. Anything else? No? Well, then, thank you very much.
Thank you.
Your efforts don't go unnoticed, let me tell you. I sure appreciate it. Thanks.
Thanks for hanging in tonight. All right. We were going to, if I could jump back, we were going to discuss the commission, the reports and assignments. Do we want to agendize that for a later meeting? Do we want to discuss it tonight? Anybody? Does anybody have any?
I don't have a burning need to do it tonight,
Okay.
but I would add to the list an ad hoc committee for grant writing, just so that we don't lose our thought on
Okay.
that.
Yeah, I think that's very important.
And because, we only have assignments on here, but maybe we should broaden it to standing committees or ad hoc committees or whatever they formally are called.
That's what I was thinking. So we can kind of see everything
We're-
that's going on.
yeah.
On these.
Because we have facilities.
Mhm.
Naming is somewhere out there.
Right.
We're looking at maybe doing grant writing, but there's another one, isn't there? I'm missing something.
Well, we had the playground.
Playground with Sarasota.
Well, that should just morph right into the Sarzodi Playground
Which we
Committee.
have, yeah, exactly, at this point. So maybe at a future meeting, we can discuss assigning those. But if anybody has anything they want to add or take away.
And is facilities planning, is that the one, it's one and the same?
Yes.
Yes.
Facilities and planning? Okay.
Yes, yeah.
Yeah, and then if there are others.
Right, if anybody else can think of any, obviously let us know.
And the bike, that's what it is.
Are we
The-
staying with
the
what's
bike.
here, or are we?
No, we can eliminate some of those as well, we discussed.
I think we're going to re-agenda it for next time, but we're going to add to the list and then we'll go over it.
Add,
and-
subtract,
Okay.
reassign, kind of get everybody out and about
and then
again.
maybe we'll have everybody, we'll see.
Yeah, hopefully. All right.
The only, if I could just real quick,
Other-
I'm sorry.
Any other agenda items? That's all I was gonna say.
Oh, was that a question for agenda
Yeah, I
items?
was-
Oh, I'm sorry. I thought you were asking the commissioners if they had any other future agenda items. I'm sorry. Any further items for me? Is that what you're looking for? I'm sorry.
Yeah,
Sound down
anything
here.
else anybody wants to add to the agenda?
I would like to connect our commission somehow with Complete Streets. I don't know how that happens, but somehow, because there is definitely an overlap between the goals that they are after and the things that we are trying to promote here
There seems to
and
be.
accomplish. So,
Okay.
I think we really need to understand what the Complete Streets is about,
Okay.
what they all do before we, because it could be something that's totally different.
it's not. I only know because
Well,
I've attended
I
some of
would like
that,
to
but.
see that.
But, okay, so
first.
maybe we should be somehow informing the commission more about Complete Streets and the overlap and
Yeah.
the ways that we can help move forward that agenda.
In terms of how it affects recreation and
Yeah.
parks. Okay.
And
Yeah.
'Cause I think
community.
it does overlap
Yeah,
as well.
there's
Based on what
definitely-
I've read, at least. so.
Yeah, so maybe there's someone from Complete Streets who'd like to come talk to us.
Or perhaps Mr. Grant, right.
Okay.
Right.
Yeah, either way. I mean, because I know there's that committee's been meeting for a long time and it's been very productive, so.
I think I understand the request, though, yeah,
Cool.
yeah. Okay.
So a future agenda item, that would
Okay.
be great.
Perfect.
Sure. Okay.
I noticed we haven't had any presentations in a while. Is that anyone interested in?
Well, we had a couple of them tentatively planned, and because of schedules or whatnot, we were going to have Mr. Cox, who's one of our new recreation specialists, come and make a presentation, and it just didn't work out for this time. So we actually had that tentatively listed for this agenda and had to put it off, so.
You know-
Yeah, we will try to get him in here in February, and it was fun to bring in some of our independent contractors too. So I batted it around with Mr. McClary about who might be next to show up and introduce themselves and do a presentation if that's what you're referring to. I don't know if you
Yeah.
saw some of the independent contractors.
On TV, I've seen them.
Oh, on television, yeah.
You know,
Good.
you know what might be nice as a presentation, once the webpage is all hot linked, super linked to whatever that is.
Yeah.
And if we made sure we had the technology to do that night, because in our meetings, you pretty much just see the front. But if we had someone to work it and we could do a run-through live as a presentation on how you do registration now and how the whole new webpage works.
It's a great
And kind of a
idea.
run-through, because I think it'd be great for us, but it'd be really nice for the public to see live.
I think so too, and probably the likely candidate for that would be Trevor.
Okay.
Since it'd give him you guys the opportunity to meet him, and since he's the one who's currently setting up all those hyperlinks and pretty savvy on the computer.
Yeah, I would love to see that in the whole webpage, like kind of go through the webpage where things are, coaches, just different, all that kind of informational stuff. And then go through a live registration. And so show someone exactly how easy it would be.
Yeah.
And then highlight the fact that there are no longer feeds for registering online.
Absolutely.
Yeah, I think that'd be good.
Yeah.
Yep.
We had also talked about, I believe, another Libby Under the Lights.
Yes.
Do we have, if we
Schedule that,
could at least get that on the schedule? I know we'd
like,
kind of batted around
Quarterly.
once a quarter maybe, and once a quarter is quickly approaching.
we have
So-
to talk to Amber.
Exactly.
Yeah, that's a Amber Allison.
I know it's an Amber Allison thing, but if maybe we could reach out to them and ask them.
Yeah, I'm not sure what their plans are. I can
I know
check.
that changes a little bit with the rain, El Nino,
Yeah.
and all that good stuff, but as successful as that event
They
was,
come in the rain. I think they would come in the rain.
so,
Okay, we'll find out.
Yeah, we'll
Right.
see what their plans are.
anybody else? Any other agenda items? No? All right. And February 4th? That's it? All right, thanks. Adjourn.
That's not bad. 8:45. That's pretty good. We're on track.
Sorry.